All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. NASCAR Cup Series Grant Park 165 practice and qualifying from the Chicago Street Course layout for the year 2025, the third season in which NASCAR has ran this street course configuration in downtown Chicago, Illinois. This year, hopefully, we get a completely dry race. It is the shortest race length by scheduled distance for this race tomorrow. There is thunderstorm showers that could be in the area throughout the course of tomorrow afternoon. As far as today goes, though, we should have dry action not only for this Cup Series practice session, Cup qualifying soon after the practice concludes, and then followed by the NASCAR Xfinity Series. On top of everything that is going on the racetrack so far today, we have had practice and qualifying for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which was in the late morning hours, wrapped up not that long ago. And now the Cup Series side of things is taking their turn to hit the racetrack for the first time this weekend. The only street course race of the year, and we're already under caution just a few minutes in, and that's because Denny Hamlin had gone for a spin on the racetrack, and then looked like some smoke was pouring out of the back of his car, and he has since stalled out. Not sure exactly what the issues are here, but Hamlin is climbing out of his race car, and they're going to have to tow the 11 back into the makeshift pit lane / garage area. So less than 2 minutes in, already under yellow, and Denny Hamlin might have an engine expired.
He said something pull out the bottom of the car. Obviously not long into this practice, guys.
The salmon continues.
Hey, good looking shirt, Al. I got the memo, guy. Look at Denny looking up.
I drew it, and it was very poor drawing. But if you go back to Denny looking underneath it, in front of it, it's hard to tell because of city streets, but you see the drops, like these little tracks right here. That's oil that has come out from underneath the bottom of this thing. So this isn't like a light engine failure. This is a massive engine explosion. Look at him. He's pointing, and he's frustrated. I mean, crazy. You think half a lap? This 11 has broken an engine.
Yeah. It was.
So that tough track you talked about, then you get 0 laps. You're going to get no practice before tomorrow.
Hey, and you talk about the rhythm of racing on the road. He didn't compete at Mexico City a couple of weeks ago doing dad duty, right?
Yeah.
So take him some time to get acclimated and feeling the rhythm of Chicago. Now we say hello to Danielle Trotta. What's going on, Danielle?
Well, I didn't get the salmon shirt memo, Adam, but I am covering a red, white, and blue paint scheme down here in the pits. Shane Van Gisbergen. Today's a special day, guys. It marks the exact date, 2-year anniversary since SVG burst onto the scene in NASCAR, winning this inaugural Chicago Street Course race in 2023. Since then, what a dream. Won the Chicago Xfinity race here in 2024, and just last month came off a blistering, dominant Cup Series victory in Mexico City by 16.5 seconds. I just talked to Shane. I said, what's the goal? He said, I want to run all 8 laps in this first 25-minute session. Should be about 18 laps. His crew chief, Stephen Doran, said that's going to help us dial in our strategy for tomorrow, whether it's a 1-stop or 2-stop, depending on tire fall off and track wear. Keep an eye on that. Let's send it over to Mambo.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be back after that big win that I had. I just want to remind Steve on whose bracket is better. You know, Denny Hamlin not making it time down. Anyway, I'm sitting here at Buckingham Fountain. Look how beautiful this skyline is, guys. It's so cool. Vibes are high. Summertime shy is in full effect. We got some really cool fan activations behind me. There's a couple different fan clubs you can go to. Make sure if you're around the racetrack this weekend, you stop by the pick shop and get your official Chicago gear. One thing after the track walk that I noticed was this track is getting increasingly bumpier as the years go on, because it's not a track, right? It is a regular street, and these cars are going to be going through a lot of these transitions. Will be something to watch during qualifying practice, guys.
Man, Mom, but that's impressive to take a shot at the guy that has the mic for the whole show. I mean, I'm going to get all kinds of shots in on Mama. But you were right, Mama. I will admit, this is your moment of glory. You predicted all week the tie Denny Hamlin upset. It only took 23 cars wrecking on the backstretch to come true. But you are correct, sir.
Whatever it takes, man. If you're right,
Yes.
you're right. If
That's
you're
right,
hearing
you're
I'm right, then I must be right.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Let's look at this track map and 2.2 miles, 12 turns.
Yeah, it's a fun little racetrack. Pretty simple, to be honest with you, in terms. You're not going to get lost getting around this racetrack, but there are some challenging corners. Obviously, the first two 90-degree corners heading on to Lakeshore Drive. We have a lot of issues over here in turn 2 at the top of the racetrack there that I never foresee happening. But for some reason on restarts, we get a lot of challenges there. Guys get turned around. trying to get aggressive on those final restarts. And just a lot of fun, tricky corners. And obviously where Denny had his issues down there at the end of Florida's drive can be a big problem. A lot of cars with the tire burner down there at the end of the day.
Slow start to practice. The track had just opened, and Denny Hamlin has an engine issue and spins it out in turn 6.
So half a lap into practice, Denny Hamlin having some engine problems in the first couple minutes. As you see on our timesheet, very few drivers actually were able to complete a lap before we had that full course caution flag to get Denny Hamlin's car off of the middle of the racetrack. As far as the laps completed, I don't think really any of them were good lap times because they had to back their speed off at the end of the lap that they were currently running because of the caution coming out. So we have yet to see pretty much everybody complete a normal lap. And I'm sure we'll see some more spins because it's a relatively new and challenging street course, very tight. I'm sure we will see some spins and maybe cars going off track throughout the course of this 25-minute session. As the first 25-minute session, we've had full practices in the first 2 years that we've had the next-gen car and obviously this racetrack in general, because it is not necessarily deemed new to the circuit anymore. Just our usual 25 minutes. Now, NASCAR will restart the clock, I'm sure, for all these drivers to run their practice session in its entirety, especially considering nobody had completed a lap yet. They've been pretty good about this format of practice, giving the teams the full time that they would have had, which would have been 25 minutes again for this week, if it's interrupted by any sort of an on-track incident or a stoppage, not resulting in weather, of course. Because in that essence, then you wouldn't be able to continue on. Steve Greyhawk 15, thanks for tuning in. Marcus Villarreal, Trainskate 1025, Shahir Gaming and Entertainment, Duttlebug 5. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Get the Dems out. Thanks for tuning in. I was laughing because I had to say the name on the channel to give you the shout out. It's not me. It's not me being political on the channel, all right? I'll just put that out there. It was a name. Been having trouble with True TV, just a black screen. That's tough. Yeah, everything's working a full go for me right now. I'm curious to see what the CW is going to look like for the Xfinity Series race later on today, because for that race, I should say the last 2 races for the Xfinity Series, I've had visuals, but there's no commentary audio, which I do most of the commentary when we do these live commentary streams anyway, but specifically for that, that was not the case. One of those weird weeks, by the way, too, where the Group 1 drivers are a lot of the top-tier drivers in the Cup Series. That's because a lot of them crashed out at Atlanta last week in the big one, which happened in the first half of the race. Therefore, they finished in the back half of the field, resulted in them not necessarily having a good random drawing for, I shouldn't say random drawing, but a good metric for this weekend, which based the most recent finish fastest lap from that race. So if you wrecked out early, you probably couldn't necessarily put together a fast lap late in the race and obviously get a good finish along with it. So Christopher Bell, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, all drivers who are in the playoffs and have won this year. Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, they're all in this first group. Denny Hamlin. Hamlin, again, having an engine failure and leaking fluids on the racetrack, some bigger oil spills prior to the spin. Again, just a half a lap in. I'm sure we'll get an interview with Denny Hamlin at some point. He's diagnosing the issue with JGR at the moment.
So why is a guy like Denny so frustrated? You mentioned it was in Mexico City, but Dale was in the middle of talking about how difficult this track is. And even a guy that's won this many times on the Cup Series, he needs practice. He wants practice. He wants to qualify. This may be one of the most track position races just because of the toughness of passing, because of the narrowness. He knows all of that, and you see that frustration. He's like, how can we be this good and we have broke a half a lap into practice? And I don't have the answer because you can see from his face, I mean, the words pouring out of it, right? So something catastrophically has failed in this Toyota, and he's frustrated. Coach is there. I'm gonna get. Hey, look,
All the brass are
brass.
listening in.
They are. He has the attention of everyone.
But here's what I love, though, Dale, from a leadership perspective. He's your driver. He's the guy that wins so many races and has delivered so much good to Joe Gibbs Racing. There comes a time when you got to deliver a message and try to make sure that everybody's where they need to be. I love the leadership in Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I think I'm I know he's frustrated with, because there's cars just don't blow up engines going out on the racetrack and rolling around at half speed. There's something in processes or in their protocols that it's
Something I missed, right? So let's talk about this. It could be a second race on the engine. We don't know that. But even if it was, this engine's been dynoed on the engine dynamometer, right? Then it was put in the car, probably chassis dyno, warmed up here. To your point, Dale, it has gone through many, many cycles before it tried to go run a half a lap and then broke. So something is amiss in their process or procedure with preparing for practice. I don't know. It's kind of unfathomable.
Yeah. And I think that's Danny's frustration.
Yeah.
How does this happen? But at the same time, man, you got to remember you're having one of your best career seasons.
Yeah, I don't know what the consolation.
Yeah, I mean,
3 wins,
he's
right?
trying.
That's good. Yeah.
They was trying to get the glass half full.
I just think he's gonna, everything's gonna be all right, man.
I
Just,
agree.
it's a tough deal. It's unfortunate, but have some fun driving from the back or whatever happens on Sunday.
What do you have for us, Danielle?
Stephen Doran just radioed to his driver, still cleaning up a little bit of oil from Denny Hamlin's issue here, thinking they'll get that going in a second. But you're watching the clock tick down, Steve Letarte. So my question is, I'm sure NASCAR is going to add some more time here, but Stephen Doran, SVG's crew chief, just said, I was looking to run the whole practice, all 25 minutes on the same set of tires, 18 laps, he was thinking, to help determine what their strategy is going to be tomorrow, whether it's a 1-stop, a 2-stop. What is something like this, a red flag, an issue? What does that do to the mindset of a crew chief and trying to figure out how to maximize the time they will get on track?
So the positive is it happened right away. You didn't get 6 or 7 laps into the run on the only set of tires you had. For them, the caution could come out because that heat cycle, Dale, could change your tire dramatically. So that's the positive. The negative is they're going to lose some time, but NASCAR is not going to allow Group 1 to only run 11 minutes and Group 2 to have 25 minutes. They're going to add some time to this group. Now, look, they may have to remove some time from the second group to keep them equal because there's only so much time available for the Xfinity Series race today. So we'll wait until NASCAR tells us what they'll be. But, Danielle, it's a great point that it could be a disruption. Luckily, I think it happened before they were on track getting too much accomplished.
I'll go back to Xfinity practice earlier today. They're set up a little bit different than what we do with the Cup cars, but there were so many incidents that no one was able to achieve a 10-lap run. And so it does leave you in the dark a little bit on where you are in regard to setup for the race there, and then what your thoughts are, as Danielle said, in regard to strategy and the impact of the long run and how that will play out here tomorrow.
It's been the third time with Columbia, and I'm still shocked. When we walked around it this morning, some of those pictures with the skyscrapers in the background, we just heard they're going to add 10 minutes. So they'll have over
That's
20
it?
minutes practice. Now, I don't know if the track, I'm going to try to clean it up with the speedy drive, but maybe that'll be a little dirty, a little dusty.
Yeah, luckily that where Denny's car ended up is offline a little bit of the exit of turn 6. So, but where he spun the car now was right in the racing groove, and there was a ton of fluid pouring out of that right exhaust pipe, which sounds like we're hearing cars starting to put it gear and pull away.
I love this driver cam that we're doing, and you can go inside the race with Max, home of the NASCAR driver cam. It's all presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and Straight Talk Wireless. Access every in-car camera with real-time driver data, multi-view options, and full team audio. Watch NASCAR drivers all season long. It's only on Max. If you're a fan, great way to get connected, take it to the next level.
Well, we already heard Mamba bragging about his bracket. That big wreck kind of, it was upset central. But remember, we're now basically in the round of 16. We started with 32, 16 were eliminated in Atlanta. Now we have 8 matchups. Brad Kozlowski's in a matchup right there against Ty Dillon, Bowen, Wallace, Nemechek. Those colors aren't random. So on the top of the windshields, the windshield banner will have the name in that color. So Bowen and Wallace, you could jump out, right? They're gonna look the same. So that's the left side of the bracket. Then we have a right side of the bracket with 4 other matchups, right? So 16 drivers total. There's the other side with Gregson, Priest, Hocevar. I got my eye on the Allmendinger Gibbs. I think that is a big matchup at the road course.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch. All these are going to be a lot of fun. And now that it's a little bit of a smaller group, it'll be a little bit easier for us to kind of understand what's happening as the race is rolling out. It was hectic and wide open in Atlanta last week. Alan's got Denny Hamlin. Let's see what he's got to say.
Yeah, Denny broke it down with the leadership at JGR. An unusual motor failure early on in your lap. But first of all, what happened?
Yeah, don't know. It's just hadn't even hit the gas yet. Came off turn 4, just started accelerating and blew the whole bottom out.
I can see it with the discussions. There's a certain level of frustration with this one about processes, what have you. Does something need to? Do you want to look at something in the future? What's triggering this?
It's just a lot of things that we want to be in control as drivers. We want to be in control of our result. You don't want to have processes or mechanicals stop you from that. And obviously, it's a racetrack that is important to have reps, and we spend hours upon hours practicing and getting ready and all that stuff, and couldn't even make a pace lap before he flew up.
Tough start to the weekend for Denny Hamlin, guys. He wasn't the only one with questions. A lot of the other JGR drivers came right on the radio and said, what happened? Did he blow up? What was going on? They want to know what's happening. Unclear if there's a concern with all the JGR cars, but certainly the drivers are paying attention.
Yeah, that's frustrating now. You got to sit there and watch everybody else run laps. And as you're standing there, everybody else is getting smarter, getting faster, picking up all, the differences in this racetrack compared to how it might have been last year. And these are, there's not a lot of laps for these drivers in the dry. Since we've been coming here, the races have been shortened due to the darkness or weather. A lot of laps on Hamlin. You'd love to be out here really kind of getting the limits understood, seeing how hard you push the car.
Watching the 99, Daniel Suarez, newsmaker this week. It was announced he will not return to Trackhouse in 2026, and he just came through that tough little part of the racetrack there, so narrow between turns 4 and 5. Then the long run down Columbus to turn 6, where we saw Denny Hamlin have his issue a moment ago.
All the 19 of Chase Briscoe has gotten lost. It looks like turn 4. There's a lot of runoff on a couple of corners. There's not really anywhere to go to escape contact with the tire barrier or the walls themselves, but there are a couple of corners that do have some runoff. Turn 4 being one, turn 11 around on board here down into turn 6. This is the one where a lot of drivers can miss that corner and end up in the tire barrier. There's no runoff in that corner. Over the hill down into turn 7. This is now Michigan Ave, right? Straight up Michigan Ave. And then this neat little kind of curve up over the hill here. There's a pretty good lateral grip here on this asphalt down into turn 10 and over to 11.
I didn't realize the elevation changed through Congress Plaza, and then you could see it here, the up and down back over the train tracks from 11 to 12 before the right-hander at the start-finish line.
Right, and the restart zone is before turn 12. So you can fire off and the restart will happen before you actually turn and look at the start-finish line. So that'll be interesting to see what that creates for opportunities in terms of passing into turn 1 or even turn 2. We see turn 2, this corner right here, often being a corner late in the race when the restarts get physical. Guys can turn around. People suffer like 3 and 4 wide. I never anticipated turn 2 being the action corner on this racetrack, but that's kind of where a lot of things go down.
And this breaker right here, you see the car bounce, jump. Yeah, that makes that. And that corner you would think is slower. When you walk the track, that's pretty narrow, but it's almost kind of like they're skydiving into a little bit of a keyhole there, right? Like you got to get up over those bumps, and when the tires kind of settle down, you twitch the car to the right, and you're running pretty fast at turn 4.
Yeah, when you're coming down Lakeshore toward turn 4, there's a bend, little elbow in the straightaway that's turn 3, and then turn 4 is just another elbow, to be honest with you. It's not a 90-degree turn, so they go through it a lot faster than you anticipate. There's a very narrow part of the racetrack back here on the backside of the track. Again, you can't make mistakes here because you got barriers on both sides.
I love this plan right here, Dale. Sorry that this is Chastain behind him. I think that's not random, right? I think they're setting him out behind SVG to get a little bit of that pacing, a little bit of that feel. Yep. We say that in qualifying as well, where Ryan Preece went out and followed Chris Buescher in Mexico.
Yep.
And also, Preece ended up qualifying on the front row, having that opportunity to chase his teammate. We're going to ride it on. Well, we're actually going to look at the replay here with this. You see how the car is jumping and launching over the bumps. This is in turn 4, where we talk about how different all the patches of concrete and asphalt. It's a lot of different surfaces there, and they all really affect how the car gets into that braking zone there. And this is coming through turn 4, looking back the other direction, and that tire barrier is right there. If you make a mistake, turn 5, you've kind of got the car a little bit slowed down for turn 5, so you open up to a big, long, wide straightaway coming out of 5. So that 4 and 5 section we thought would be slow when we started coming here. That's right. It's actually just really quick, bam, bam through there. But at turn 6, that's our highest entry speed on the racetrack. You're north of 140 miles an hour heading into turn 6. And then you mentioned this slow section. I hate to use the word slow because this Congress Plaza, when we come up over this, where you're going to see the one turn right, they're over 90 miles an hour through this kind of sweeping bend right here, searching for some grip, trying to stay in position for this right-hander. And there, see how the lateral grip that one car had, turning back to the left, coming around that bend? It's asphalt, and the car's just loaded up on the right rear. They have tons of grip there. Alan, what you got on this one car?
Well, no one's surprised to see SVG up there on top of the board, but his teammate, Ross Chastain, just about a 10th behind him on track. What I learned today is all the Trackhouse cars came here set up exactly the same. That's not normally how the team does it when they bring 3 cars to the track, but they figure the process here this weekend, bring all 3 cars, exact same setup, and then judge after practice what changes were made, who did what. Maybe they can find some improvements. So Ross Chastain benefiting from some of that setup. Obviously, he's got a road course win in his pocket, but Ross Chastain put down some good laps early on in this practice.
So I like the idea on paper. Some of the drivers are talking about how their cars feel. They're feeling the same setup. But all that with caution is SVG's style is his own. He's like an artist, and so is a Chastain. So, certain parts of the car I think need to be engineered, and right's right. It's most mechanical grip, best aero platform, things like that. But there are other items that you can customize for your driver to make it more comfortable. So you can't be stubborn making changes if Chastain needs something different. But how about Gregson right here, second on the board?
He ran great earlier this year at Circuit of the Americas. Decent little road racer is Noah Gregson, and one of those drivers that survived the opening round in-season challenge, part of the round of 16, facing off this weekend with Ryan Preece.
Justin Haley with the 7-car Perspire coming through turn 4, and that car is really uncomfortable, bouncing and sliding, blocking rear brakes. Just has to that's that little runoff area where you can survive.
At that point, you feel like you've won, right? Yeah. You bounced all the way through there. You didn't hit anything. You reset, live to fight another day.
And when you know where those runoffs are, it allows you to really start to push the limits in those braking zones. And you have that, the ability to survive that mistake. But you get to find the limits at these other turns, like turn 6. You can't really work yourself up to that limit. You don't want to slide a tire there because you got nowhere to go right into the tire packs. William Byron with this 24 car, since second on the board, has now bumped Gregson back only a 10th off of what Shane Van Gisbergen ran. Saw his numbers. No slouch in the road course. There's no slouch anywhere we go, to be quite honest. Byron is really turning into that kind of, driver you would take to any track. I'm not sure there's a weak track for William Byron.
And if you look at the next gen era, Hendrick Motorsports, really good at this style of racing. Won here a season ago with Williams' teammate, Alex Bowman. Shane Van Gisbergen, top of the board, 9 minutes to go. Group 1 practice in Chicago.
All right, so about 10 minutes remaining in Group 1 practice. They did add 10 minutes to the amount of caution time that they had for Denny Hamlin's cleanup after he had leaked a little bit of fluid, some oil around the racetrack following an engine failure in about the first half of a lap in this practice session. So by the time these teams are able to roll back out onto the track and finally complete their first full lap of action in practice, there was about 18 and a half minutes. So they did lose about 7 to 7.5 minutes because of Denny Hamlin's incident. And again, they've been on track for about 8 minutes or so. Now we got 10 remaining. William Byron is the top driver so far in this Group 1 of practice. There are 20 cars in this group. And we'll go down the running order list and how they rank so far. So after Byron, we have Shane Van Gisbergen in second, then Noah Gregson third, Ryan Blaney fourth, and Christopher Bell rounds out our Fast Five so far for practice. Ross Chastain is sixth, Corey Hyman seventh, Todd Gillen eighth, John Nemechek ninth, and Will Brown will be making his first Cup start of the season in 10th. Austin Hill 11th, Austin Cindric 12th, Riley Herbst 13th, Chase Briscoe 14th, Joey Logano 15th, 16th for Cole Custer, 17th Daniel Suarez, Josh Bilicki in 18th, Josh Berry in 19th, and Justin Haley is 20th. So that is the way we look right now. There are 4 non-chartered entries for this weekend, so we will have a full 40-car field. And all of those 4 non-chartered teams are in this first group. Group 2, obviously, you have to hit the racetrack. We'll see their lap times intertwine with those that are already posted. Most laps ran. Corey Heim has completed 8 laps, a lot of others with 7. So Heim must have been the first car back out onto the racetrack following the Hamlin incident. We shall see. Dean Tate, thanks for tuning in. Stu, welcome back. Billy Kramer, Brett Whitesides. Good afternoon to everybody. Got about 90 people in the chat already. Greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We usually don't get as many people until qualifying starts. Still in the practice session side of the stream. We're not even halfway through it with the delay because of the Denny Hamlin engine failure. So we know he's not going to be able to participate in qualifying. He will have to start at the rear of the field. The team obviously going to have to make an engine change. Not a backup car. He didn't necessarily crash the car. Just a kind of a lazy spin, and around he goes. I think the spin that he had was mainly to put the smoke out from the engine first basically exploding. He had smoke coming out of both tailpipes. Got out of the way, obviously. Also didn't want to stall out necessarily in the direct line of traffic. But it was a pretty lengthy cleanup. He had quite a bit of fluid that was leaking out. Again, about 10 minutes worth, so that's why they added time. Actually, really, it was about 17 minutes worth of a red flag / caution period, but safety crews were able to get it cleaned up as quickly as they could, all things considered, and get these other cars back on track. Since then, Chase Briscoe went a little bit wide in turn 6. Didn't make contact with the wall, but definitely missed his braking area. Haven't really had any other on-track incidents or anything of that nature. Anybody going wide and having to rejoin the racing surface. A lot of bumps on the Chicago street course layout. And it's only going to get bumpier and bumpier with every year that NASCAR does come here. We don't know 100% if this will be the last race at the Chicago Street Race layout. They do have 1 more year left on the contract on an option if they choose to add that. They, meaning the city of Chicago, to extend for 1 more year. So maybe even bumpier the next year. And the reason for that, a lot of harsh winters, obviously, in Chicago, Illinois, and just everyday traffic running on what is our racing surface for this weekend, when other tracks get used, especially on the NASCAR ranks, really only once or twice a year. So they're not going to necessarily add to the loss of grip over time. That's more from erosion and just, again, whatever weather climate you're in, as to how fast that track ages. This track is going to age more and more every year. And we see it across street courses and other motorsports as well. Earl Arnold Jr., thanks for tuning in. How do I feel about the 8871 and the 48 in the top 10? Well, Bowman is a pretty good road course racer. We have yet to see him on the track so far this weekend. I definitely expect Shane Van Gisbergen to have a really solid day and compete for the win. I think it's hard to try to find somebody else who isn't the favorite to win this race. He's got 2 career Cup wins. He had one in Mexico City on a new road course race literally just a few weeks ago. He's won one of the 2 races here. we haven't had a completely dry race yet. And I think one thing to note off of on Mexico City, that SVG was not dominant in that race until the track got dry. Then he was able to put down the fastest lap times by far that anybody was able to put down throughout the course of the race. But under the rain conditions, it was a lot more level playing field. Ty Gibbs was keeping up with him every step of the way. At times, we'd see other drivers on a short run especially be able to match lap times of Shane Van Gisbergen. And once the track was dry, SVG was able to put his full road course prowess on display and start gapping the field. And obviously going green that entire second half of the race as well. He didn't have to dodge any restarts, made it a little easier for him. If the track stays dry throughout the course of tomorrow afternoon, we don't have any rain issues, SVG today qualifies out towards the front of the field like he did at Mexico City, where he qualified on the pole for that race as well. He's going to have track position from the start. It's a relatively short race. This race is even shorter than the Mexico City race a couple weeks ago, so it's going to be harder for maybe better drivers starting deeper in the field. We know Denny Hamlin is going to be starting at the back because of the engine failure. I don't expect him to have a great day anyway because he hasn't been great with the road courses with this next-gen car, but that's definitely not going to help him either. I think you're going to have to qualify up at the front and obviously maintain that track position throughout the great job a couple weeks ago of staying ahead of strategy. It should be a little bit more straightforward this upcoming weekend. We had more than 2 pit stops in Mexico City because of the alteration with the rain tires going on and off, so they really had about 4 pit stops throughout the course of that race. It should be a pretty easy 2-stop race for tomorrow. It's only 75 laps, which again would be the shortest scheduled distance that we've had with the Chicago Street Race for the Cup Series. And I would like to think they should be able to make it on fuel in that final stage from around the stage 2 end. And obviously the same for stage 1 into stage 2 there. So at that point, it's really on the drivers to survive the restarts. Don't make any mistakes, both on pit road and with the race car. And speaking of mistakes with the race car, William Byron has some significant damage to the left side of his car, as he has definitely gotten up against the wall. A lot of left rear damage. It looks like the toe link at the very least is broken. Slid a little bit wide. I think that's turn 10, where he went a bit wide on the right-handed corner, slapped the wall with the left rear, and he pretty much pancaked it with the tire. So much so that there's some sort of suspension damage on the 24. Byron, fastest in practice so far, but maybe a little bit too fast there because of the damage he has. He's not going to be able to qualify, even if he doesn't go to a backup car. And just like Denny Hamlin bringing up the rear of the field, I just mentioned about if you have a fast car, you qualify at the front, you got to stay up front. Well, unfortunately, Byron not going to be able to qualify up front. And he's a driver who I would think is one of the better drivers today on road courses. He's consistently competing for wins. He's won a few of them with the next-gen car. And now, going to be a much harder job to do so tomorrow with minimal strategy really at hand because of the race length. David Cowboy, thanks for tuning in. How do you find True TV? Basic cable providers usually have True TV. I used to have DirecTV back in the day, and I think it was channel 246. So if anybody's got DirecTV and is wondering where you can find True TV, that is the channel number. I don't know about any other cable providers necessarily. Currently have Hulu. The basic bundle has True TV as one of the channels on there as well. Bones does, thanks for tuning in. Of course, especially when you consider that the races we've had here before, not so much in the dry. So not a lot of track time for a lot of these drivers in the dry. And the guy who's going to adapt the quickest, you'd have to imagine, is going to be Shane Van Gisbergen again. It's all up to qualifying at this point. I think if he qualifies in those top couple of rows, he's going to be tough to beat. If he messes up on his qualifying laps, you know, maybe he ends up starting outside the top 10 for whatever reason, and I'm not going to say he's a guaranteed lock to win tomorrow's race. He was my pick to win in Mexico City for all the reasons I pretty much stated for Chicago, so him qualifying on the pole in the Mexico City race, I could not pick him for the win, so that's going to be Basically the same thought process, at least for myself, for this weekend as well. If you have TNT, you most likely have True. Yeah, they're under the same like banner, Turner Sports, for instance, on the sporting side of things. True TV, TNT, and TBS are all owned by the same, I don't want to say company, guy, Ted Turner. I don't know how much of a company necessarily owns the programming as much as he does. I don't know the ownership stake there, but yeah, it's all under that same window. There might be another one in there too that I'm forgetting. At least those three. Mother Nature hates NASCAR racing. This year it's been pretty kind for the most part. We're getting into the summer months where it's more likely to have just random pop-up showers, especially in the evening with the humidity. So that's why we've seen, slight rain delays the last couple of weeks. We really weren't delayed much in Mexico City. They were able to race in the rain there. So if they have any sort of rain tomorrow, hopefully that will be the same case. We can throw the wet weather tires on and we can get the race in and it's full. Pocono had about an hour and a half delay at the start, but that was it. And the Daytona 500 at the very start of the season would have been the only other weekend that we had any sort of rain. And it was during the 500 Sunday and started the race slightly on time, had a major rain delay, and got the race restarted a little later in the evening after about a 4-hour delay or so. How far into the playoffs do I see SVG? I'd be shocked if he makes it out of the first round with the tracks that they have on the schedule, all being ovals, no drafting tracks in the first round. If we had last year's playoffs, I think SVG would have had a better shot to maybe make it into the round of 8. Because we would have had Watkins Glen in Atlanta in the first round. Super Speedway road course, and then we would have had the Roval in the second round. So maybe you could argue he wins like a Watkins Glen, he wins the Roval, he's in the round of 8. But this year, the Roval obviously still in the round of 12. And then Gateway. I don't like his chances. But if he racks up a bunch of playoff points by winning a lot of these road course races in the summer, win some stages, he can have a little bit of a cushion. He finishes top 15, top 20 most weekends. There are going to be drivers and teams that are going to have DNFs in those 3 races. If he stays out of trouble, that could be his pathway to getting out of the first round. But that would be the only way I see it. Basically be a war of attrition kind of way to get through the first round rather than general speed. We've seen that in the past. Sarah Jackson, thanks for tuning in. Happy 4th of July weekend as well. I did see Billy state that in the chat. Turner Classic Movies is the other one. See, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know he owned CNN, too. Cartoon Network, I also did not know that Ted Turner also owned Cartoon Network. I had no idea. I knew CNN was based out of Atlanta, which is where Turner Sports, or not Turner Sports, but, well, yeah, Turner Sports too, because I know like the TNT basketball crew is always down in Atlanta, but that's where their studios were. But anyway, I didn't realize that. I didn't put 2 and 2 together, essentially. You learn something new every day. Same for Cartoon Network. I would have never guessed that. So we're in the cool down period between Group 1 and Group 2 practice, about 5 to 10 minutes or so. Then we'll start to see cars on track again. William Byron was the quickest in Group 1. Shane Van Gisbergen second quickest. Then Will Brown was third, Noah Gragson fourth. Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 5. Christopher Bell 6th, Ross Chastain 7th, Corey Heim 8th, Todd Gilliland 9th, John Hunter Nemechek in 10th. Then Austin Hill 11th, Chase Briscoe 12th, Austin Cindric 13th, Riley Herbst 14th, 15th for Cole Custer, Joey Logano 16th, Daniel Suarez 17th, Josh Bilicki 18th, Justin Haley 19th, Josh Berry rounds out the top 20. So those were all the 20 cars competing in Group 1 practice. Denny Hamlin also had an engine failure in that group. And we'll get to see Group 2 on track shortly. And who will be the fastest from that group? And will they be the fastest overall, I guess would be the next question. So once Group 2 gets out on the racetrack, again, we will have 25 more minutes of practice. Qualifying will be after another cool-down period following that said practice session. Group qualifying on the road courses, just like we saw with Mexico City and COTA already this year. One round, and it's a timed session. You got 30 minutes to put down the fastest lap you possibly can. You can run as many laps as you want. If you want to run from minute 1 to minute 30, you can. Once that clock hits 0, if you have not started your lap by that time, hitting 0, then that next lap will not count. So try to find some clean track and put together as good a laps as you can. Got a chance to run once early in the run, maybe cool the engine down a bit, run a couple more laps in the final couple minutes of the session. Even if you can't necessarily jump to the top spot, maybe improve your time from what you would have had before if you made a major mistake. Bring 4888, thanks for tuning in. All right, while we're waiting on the next set of practice to begin, we'll take our first break of the stream. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you have not done so yet. Our like goal was supposed to be 50. Usually is 50 for these live commentary streams for practice and qualifying. We're at 40 right now. And subscribe if you haven't already, as we're on the road to 7K. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing will be on later. Right here on the channel, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we will go live for the Xfinity Series race. And the drop of the green flag will be about 10 to 15 minutes after that. Tomorrow's NASCAR Cup Series live commentary stream will begin at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. With our pre-race, we'll have some NASCAR trivia. We'll highlight the in-season tournament just to see who's going up head-to-head this week and who I think is going to beat one, and move on into the next round for Sonoma next week. Back-to-back road courses on the schedule, at least with this street race and then a road course next weekend. 4 road courses in the span of 9 weeks from Mexico City through Watkins Glen in August. Back-to-back on this part of the schedule, and obviously 3 of them in a 5-week stretch because Mexico City was just 3 weeks ago. A lot of road courses on the schedule from what there used to be, but we've seen about 5 or 6 on the schedule the last handful of years. They're just not as spaced out this year as they usually are. So that's why it might seem like we have a lot more than what we've seen really since about 2020. 2021 specifically, because that's when COTA and Road America came to the schedule. Daytona Road Course was that year also. 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, yep. Yep, drop of the green flag just after 2, and we'll be live at about 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. Rod Brown, thanks for tuning in. I don't think I shouted you out yet. Rima, thanks for tuning in also. Every time they come to the Chicago street course, it amazes me how tight it is with these big, heavy stock cars. And it surprises me how well these cars race at this racetrack. Because you would expect at slower speeds even less passing opportunities than what you would see with open wheel, which doesn't have a lot when they go to any kind of a street course because of the tighter confines. Some of that could have been the wet conditions we saw the first 2 years of this layout, it very much could have been. There's more mistakes to be made, therefore more passing opportunities based off of capitalizing on other drivers' mistakes. But interested to see a dry race here if we'll have the same amount of action. Big notes to take away from Group 1 practice if you are just tuning in for the first time. Denny Hamlin blew an engine in the first half of a lap of practice, and then also William Byron had significant contact with the wall out of turn 10, a right-handed corner exit. Caught the left rear up against the wall, quite a bit of damage to the left rear fender. And for more in detail, here is William Byron with Alan Cavana.
I'm an idiot. So, I just took a lot of shape through there and a lot of speed, obviously. And, I was just kind of getting my tires cleaned back off from leaving pit road. So,
Was that a different approach you were taking earlier, and why? Was that a different approach you were taking?
no, I just pitted. So my tires are probably just kind of coming up to tip again. And I took it easy the first half of the lap, and I was starting to push, getting close to the alternate start finish, and just lost traction.
We know the car has speed. Is any of that salvageable?
Yeah, I'd be fine. Just suck start from the back, and just don't like crashing. So yeah.
Right, William Byron, it was really frustrating, guys. He got out of the car with a fast car, just rubbing his forehead, as you said. Put the blame on himself.
Yeah, William Byron's a driver that I've mentioned before on the channel, various live commentary streams. He's a driver I would want for my race team. He doesn't crash a lot. He doesn't overstep the issue. And that's a perfect driver for a great race team like Hendrick Motorsports, because you know they're going to have fast cars week in and week out. And he's a driver that doesn't push the issue. If he's got an 8th place car, he's going to run 8th all day. If he's got a race winning car, he's going to dominate, lead a bunch of laps, compete for the win all day long. But he's not going to make a mistake that's going to cost him a chance to win. And we very, very rarely see William Byron get any sort of incidents that results in him causing that said incidents. Very rarely we find him in incidents at all because he's able to avoid issues because he doesn't overstep or overdrive the car, maybe battling for position like we would from other drivers who are in fast equipment over the years, even one of his teammates, Kyle Larson, where Larson is a driver who could take a 15th place car and finish 5th with it. I don't think Byron's that kind of driver, but because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, he's going to have just as many chances to win as a Kyle Larson, because if he's up at the front, you can rely on him to be there pretty much all day long from start to finish. And that's why I really like William Byron. He reminds me of a modern day Mark Martin when it comes to driving style. Just clean, doesn't overstep anything. The equipment's going to be there. Roush was great, obviously, with Martin at the helm through the 90s into the early to mid 2000s. And he won a lot of races. William Byron, he's already won a lot of races. I believe 14 wins in his NASCAR Cup career, if I'm not mistaken. Which is quite a few considering his first career win was in 2020. He's averaging about 2 to 3 wins a year over the last 4 years. And although this season he's only had one, again, he's consistent. He's fast. Even if he's not winning races, he's getting great finishes, and that's why he's dominating in points right now. So take a look at those point standings while I'm talking about it. He's got a 37-point lead over Chase Elliott. A lot of that came down because Byron was caught up in the big one, unfortunately, last week for him. Chase Elliott goes on to win the race, score a lot of stage points. So Elliott jumped up 3 positions in the regular season standings to 2nd, and he's 37 back. Kyle Larson's minus 42. Byron's led all but 4 races out of 18 so far this year in points. The first 2 races of the year after Daytona and Atlanta, Ryan Blaney led because he was the only driver outside of John Hunter Nemechek to finish in the top 10 in both of those races. He was able to score a lot of stage points. So Blaney led. After race number 3, Byron took the lead. Kyle Larson won Kansas. Larson jumped up for 1 more week. After the 600, Byron was back in front again. And it's been all William Byron all but those 3 weeks all year long. He extended his lead to about just over 1 full race worth of points ahead of 2nd. And again, because he got caught up in the big one last week, unfortunately, he is now down to only a 37-point lead, which is still over a half a race worth of points. He could score up to 61 in a full race. And if you win the regular season championship, you get 15 playoff points. We've seen the regular season champion make it to the championship 4 in all but 2 seasons under the current playoff format, and I'm even going to include 2014. So over the course of the last 11 years with the knockout round playoff format, you win the regular season championship. Over 90% of the time, you're going to make the championship 4. Tyler Reddick, who didn't have a lot of race wins last year, won the regular season championship, made it to the championship 4, and he's not even what I would deem an A-tier equipment at 2311 Racing. Consistency matters if you're the most consistent throughout the course of the season from start to finish. It maybe doesn't matter as much if you're not that top dog necessarily. And obviously you still got to put the 3 race rounds together because we have seen 2 drivers over the years not be able to do that. But consistency can carry you that far at least. Obviously when it comes down to a 1 race championship, that's a little bit of a different story. But to get there, it does matter. 1 driver is going to make the championship 4 on points. And if you have a lot of playoff points, 15 of them, for instance, if you win the regular season championship on top of however many stage wins and race wins you get throughout the course of the season, even bonus. William Byron, although he's only got 1 race win this year, he has 7 stage wins. So he's got 12 playoff points, not counting an additional 15 that he could get. That would put him at 28. We still have 8 races left in the regular season. He's had speed all year, obviously, because he's leading in points. He could get another win or 2, and that could push him up to about 35, 40 playoff points before the end of the regular season. That's going to be tough to overcome if you're somebody that's, down around the cutoff line, for instance, to go round by round by round. Championship lead he has right now, for instance. So the regular season championship, it does have a lot of importance to it. And Byron leading the way right now. Now he's going to have a tough start tomorrow. One of the few instances where he did make a mistake. Not in the race necessarily, but it's going to cost him. He's not going to have a great running spot for the start. Therefore, he's not going to get stage points more than likely in stage 1. He's going to have to start from the rear of the field, more than likely in a backup car. And that'll be one of the fun stories to watch, I think, throughout the course of tomorrow's race, because Byron is a very good road course racer. Bubba Wallace, fastest right now in practice for Group 2 and overall on the speed chart, a 90.951. And we've seen him turn it around on the speed side of things with these road courses over the last couple of years. This is a track that has deemed pretty well for Bubba. And here he is this weekend at the top of the speed charts right now. Now, can he carry that over into qualifying? We shall see. But practice kind of a good indicator of that because the fastest on the practice speed charts is literally just 1 lap. It's not an average pace from start to finish of practice. And William Byron, who was fast, obviously he's not going to be qualifying, so that eliminates 1 fast driver to try to out-qualify if you're one of these top drivers in this session. Ty Gibbs has been great on the road courses with this next-gen car, even this season. Was, again, very much a competitor for the win. Fell behind a little bit in dry conditions in Mexico City. Once the rain went away, lost some track position leading up to that point as well, but he's in the top 10 right now, currently in 6th. Now 7th. 7th for Ty Gibbs, one of the faster cars in this group. Tyler Reddick, who we know is very good. He's won 3 next-gen road races, although he wasn't competitive for whatever reason in Mexico City. Looks like that team is clicking at least so far this weekend with the 23 on top and then Reddick back in the top 10 as well. Now Gibbs jumps to 3rd, so he already put down a heater of a lap. Gibbs jumps up to 3rd place. The younger drivers on the Toyota side of things having a pretty good run so far. Michael McDowell, we know, very good road course racer. He's up in the top 5. Carson Hocevar, who's kind of hit or miss, I feel like, with road races. He is in the top 5 as well. Chris Buescher, a top 10 in all but 2 next-gen road races. He's 15 for 17. He's in the top 10. Usual suspects, essentially, when it comes to road course racing in the Cup Series, all in the top 10. Chase Elliott. No surprise to pretty much see the top 9, or at least 7 or 8 of those drivers in the top 9 up where they're at on the speed charts. We'll go all the way through the running order right now. Again, Bubba Wallace leads. William Byron is 2nd, but he will not be participating in qualifying because of the wrecked car. Ty Gibbs is 3rd, 2nd fastest in this group. Then Michael McDowell, 4th overall. Carson Hocevar, 5th overall. SVG is 6th overall, but he was 2nd in Group 1. Chris Buescher, 7th. Tyler Reddick, 8th. Chase Elliott, 9th. Brad Keselowski, 10th. Alex Bowman in 11th. And all but 2 of those drivers that I just listed were in this current group, so the track has definitely gotten a bit quicker with more rubber laid down. Byron. I see Will, and then B, that's Will Brown in the 13. Good start for him this weekend, 12th in practice. Then Noah Gregson, 13th. Kyle Larson, 14th. AJ Allmendinger, 15th. Zane Smith, 16th. Ryan Blaney, 17th. Christopher Bell, 18th. Ryan Priest, 19th. Ross Chastain rounds out the top 20. 21st, we've got Corey Heim, Ty Gillen, 22nd. Eric Jones, 23rd. John Hunter Nemechek, 24th. And Kyle Busch, 25th. Austin Hill, 26th. Chase Briscoe, 27th. Austin Cindric, 28th. Riley Herbst, 29th. Austin Dillon, 30th. 31st, Cole Custer. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 32nd. Joey Logano, 33rd. Daniel Suarez, 34th. Ty Dillon, 35th. Josh Bilicki, 36th. Justin Haley, 37th. Josh Berry, 38th. Cody Ware, 39th. Katherine Legge, 40th. And Denny Hamlin did not complete a lap because of the engine failure, 41st. So with 41 cars on the entry list, again, we will have a full car field for tomorrow's race, 40. I do believe one of those open drivers will be going home. Unless I got like some sort of a waiver for Will Brown, kind of the same situation that we had earlier in the year with the Helio Castroneves Daytona 500 entry. I don't know if that counts or not for that. Let me look on Bob Hockhurst would know more than me on that. I'm going to look on his Twitter. That's something I should have done my research for before the start of the stream, so I apologize for that. But I need to know this in detail before we get into qualifying. Try to find it. 25, qualifying in groups, 1 round, slowest of the 5. Okay, so 1 driver will be going home. I did have that right. Yeah, so 1 driver will be going home this weekend. We'll have the full 40 car field, but with 41 entries, 5 open drivers. They're racing for 4 spots. That'll be fun to watch, especially with a timed session. There's going to be a lot of pressure when we get down to those final couple minutes to see who's on the cut and can they jump back above and not be the slowest of those 5. Because again, we look at that list right now. Katherine Legge would be the slowest of the 5 open drivers, but there's other drivers around her. Josh Bilicki, 36th, not that much quicker. Austin Hill, 26. You reckon qualifying? That's another thing, too. You know, you want to push hard, but if you end up making a mistake and you reckon qualifying, trying to put a fast lap together, that's going to cost you also. 12.5 minutes to go in Group 2 practice. We'll take a quick break, and I'll let you listen into some of the more on-air audio on the True TV side of things. Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, Adam Alexander in the booth once again this weekend. Kyle Riker, Jeffrey Giordano, thanks for tuning in. Mark Guest, and Tyler Burbeck. I don't think I shouted any of you 4 out, so thank you again for watching. And appreciate everybody that's hit the like button so far in the stream as well. We're only 1 like shy of our goal of 50 already, and we're not even halfway through the stream because qualifying hasn't begun yet. So again, huge thanks to you guys showing out here today on the channel.
That was why I loved last week that Mike Kelly put him on the aggressive lane in the race, because this is the kind of guy you want to be on the attack. And hey, you look at the top 5. You got 2 from Team Spire. Among them, 4th right now, Michael McDowell in the 71. Big opportunity for this group this weekend at Chicago, Danielle.
Well, Michael McDowell right now sitting 4th on the board in that Spire number 71. Remember, guys, he finished 5th here on the Chicago Street Course last year and is one of only 3 drivers to finish top 10 in both Chicago races. Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch being the other 2. His crew chief just said, right now, doing a really good job. A little hot into 4, but you're really strong into turn 1.
Just trying to coach his driver along. They have kind of a split times and overall pace versus other cars in this turn 6 braking. See, the back of his car just looks more secure versus Ricky's, right? And every time he gets on the brakes, it doesn't look like he wants to swap ends.
Like that, the Paul Blue Demon paint scheme. Chicago School, part of the Big East. Big East Hoops coming to Turner Sports this winter.
And I'm going to tell you, Big East. When I was growing up, I don't even know if they had referees in the Big East. It wasn't bloody. It wasn't a foul in the Big East.
There are coaches that would argue they still don't.
I'm telling you, man. I grew up in Maine. There's some Big East matchups down there in southern New England. Man, there's some great matchups. Mr. Consistent on the road courses. I think he's the Dragon Slayer, right? We talk about SVG. He won here the first time, wrecked the second. We have him as the favorite of every road course. We go to Watkins Glen, and Chris Buescher and SVG go toe to toe, heavily in battle, trade punches, and out the other side came Chris Buescher, right? And that, to me, that was a moment for the whole garage. I think they all walked around like, "You're my guy, Chris. Thank you for beating this guy who's come over here and made it look so easy."
Yeah, he's got a 10th and a 20th place finish in the 2 races we ran here. But we all know that his road course stuff's pretty good, pretty solid. And I've got him picked to go all the way.
I knew it was coming.
I was disappointed. I know.
Sorry.
I didn't know if the bracket was going to pop up.
Bracket's going to get mentioned by me when Chris Buescher is on the string. That's my guy.
Have you told him?
He's going up. Well, he probably knows. He's going to match up against St. Smith. St. Not a rollover, not an easy out. But I think Chris has the advantage, due to his abilities on the road courses.
I'm going to try not to jinx them as we look at high up. Just first of all, great shots just show the city streets, right? It's such a cool look for all these, but he just looks, I don't want to use the word comfortable, but at 90% the jinx.
Mostly trees from that camera angle. You can't see much.
Cars in all the right spots. I'm sure he's learning and he's pushing. But I haven't held my breath really for any of these corners yet.
Speaking of St. Smith, he's sitting there 16th on the board. He finished 17th here last year. So again, not an easy out, not a easy pass through into the next round. But
And those young drivers in front row have been very competitive on the road. We talked earlier about Noah Gregson. We've seen it out of Todd Gilliland and
St. Smith as well. And Zane's still a driver who's trying to prove that he belongs here. Maybe those years get tires really good forward. This place really challenges the drivers can really challenge the grip level and keep the car sort of at that edge of the losing grip or losing traction. Now, Keselowski in 6.
He's got a matchup against your favorite guy, Adam.
Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon.
Hey, how about this? Ty Dillon, and I know, Mamba was patting himself on the back with the
the drivers can really challenge the grip level and keep the car sort of at that edge of the losing grip or losing traction. Now, Keselowski in 6.
He's got a matchup against your favorite guy, Adam.
Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon.
Hey, how about this? Ty Dillon, and I know, Mamba was patting himself on the back with the upset of Hamlin. But how about Ty Dillon this week on social media saying, I eliminated your favorite driver. And then he embraced it, which was outstanding. But it's Ty Dillon that goes head-to-head with Brad Keselowski. I feel like that's going to be a tremendous matchup to watch during the race tomorrow.
Brad isn't terribly noted. He's not noted as a very expert road course racer, but he is 10th on the board right now. His number 6, Ty Dillon, has struggled. 35th on the board after his 8 laps on the racetrack. So,
78, Katherine Legge. Coming into pit road. Currently, she's found a little pace, 134.0. Balicki, 133.6. They will, right now, they look like to be head-to-head to make the race. It's going to be a lot of fun qualifying.
41 cars, 40 spots qualifying coming up.
All right. So, Bubba Wallace, again, still the fastest in practice. We've got a little less than 6 minutes to go in this second group. So, again, we are in Group 2. A little bit of a delay because practice would usually be over by now, but because of the Denny Hamlin engine failure, the William Byron getting up against the wall in turn 10 in practice earlier as well. A couple of cautions kind of delaying that group a little bit more with the added time for their session. No incidents to record, though, in Group 2. So that is a lot of the reason as to why you see Group 2 noticeably faster than a lot of the Group 1 drivers. Those Group 1 drivers were out on the track, for instance, already when Denny Hamlin had his issue on the first lap with the engine failure, bringing out the first caution. So they had a heat cycle in their tires already, just that extra half a lap. Enough for the tires to wear just a little bit more than, say, the Group 2 drivers, which I think is really telling the speed for both Shane Van Gisbergen and William Byron. The fact that they are the only two drivers in the top 11 from Group 1. And especially for SVG, because he will be having a chance at least to start up at the front. We have to wait and see for qualifying just to guarantee that. But William Byron guaranteed to start at the back because of the accident that he had in Group 1. Jack Does Magic, thanks for tuning in. I did post the fastest 5 and 10 lap average at his Michael McDowell. It was Ty Gibbs, and then once McDowell completed his 10th lap consecutively, he actually jumped to the top for both the 5 and 10 lap averages. Ty Gibbs would be second on both. Well, I should say Chase Elliott actually second on the 5 lap average. 10 lap average, though, is Ty Gibbs. Elliott has not made a 10 plus consecutive lap run. And most of the drivers from Group 1 were not able to make 10 consecutive laps because of the 2 cautions. So you're not going to see any Group 1 drivers in the top 10 for 10 lap averages if they were even able to get any in. I know Corey Heim did, but is significantly slower than a lot of other drivers. Austin Hill, I guess, was also able to do so. Joey Logano, so few of them, but not many. SVG, but his is a lot slower, again, with a couple of cautions, maybe intertwined. So Group 2 just overall quicker, having a cleaner racetrack by way of no stoppages and having the telemetry to look at, obviously, on the cars that were already on track. So all that combined, much quicker than Group 1. Even though there were a lot of really fast cars and great drivers in that first group.
Good panels, the fender, and cracks. This car has hit the temporary somewhere. So you look like it's a lot of damage. Well, let me show you what happened, and you tell me, Matt, feel the damage isn't that bad, because take a look. Hendrick 6.
Oh!
Damage at the front. Are we okay? So to Steve's point, like, you know, they back this car into the garage or the pit stall and take a look at it, and you think, well, man, it's kind of rubbed the wall somewhere. Yeah, that's serious. Right. That's quite the contact. So now you got to look at toe links and other things to make sure everything's okay there. But the body, for the most part, survived the accident pretty well. So
Yeah, that hook seam will be an issue at Michigan, but
she has to be able to go. She's got to be able to get out there and get a lap and qualify. That's right. And so this is really critical for that team to be able to get that car on the racetrack and for her to feel comfortable.
I just want to see, Dale, if you can ever going to say anything. I mean, here's Zane Smith. He's here to eliminate Chris Buescher from the bracket.
Oh, boy.
Coming in hot.
He's charging the corners. He's squealing, getting after it. I'm gonna lean in and I'm gonna give the drivers a little bit of a hat tip, though. They have been fun to watch on social media. So I'm really leaned in. They're doing some nice, polite, you know, kind of talking back and forth. You mentioned the Ty Dillon, I eliminated your favorite driver. These front row guys always find something to talk about. Noah being one of them. Noah sent a picture of Priest in the rearview mirror. Said he's going to be there all day. And then Priest, this was a pretty good counter move. He sent a picture of Noah in the tire barrier and told him he should just stay looking out his windshield. It was a nice, healthy talk back and forth. Let's listen in to the 9.
I got it good right there. Really good. Tires that look good. Left side, I'm assuming. Left side. Yeah, I think you take it. Like William did, or similar. More clear, but probably as hard, not harder.
Byron just went to second on the board.
Talking about the 9 of Chase Elliott. Now an update on his teammate, Alex Bowman. Alan.
Yeah, last year's winner, the team has spent the last 5+ minutes doing extensive repair back there on the left rear, including replacing a toe link. Not much talk on the radio as the incident which caused this. Alex Bowman has just been talking about the handling of the car, charging it in to turns 4 and 6. Now, pretty unclear at the moment where that damage came from, but they are still heavy at work trying to replace that toe link and get it all repaired to qualify.
11th on the board right now for last year's winner, Alex Bowman.
Man, totally sitting on the asphalt right there. If we go point down a little bit, we'll see this is the part right here. This is what they're changing. Oh, wait.
Hey,
Whoa,
hey.
whoa. That's user error. Hold on. Oh, now they picked it up. Come on, guys. You know what? If you can't use the telestrator properly, you're not going to get to see the part. Just to confirm.
The user was you. I mean, it was user error, and you were the one.
I got myself out on
Okay.
air. I think
I
that's
just wanted to
fair.
make sure. Yeah.
Well, that's 3 strikes. Is that what you're going to tell me? That's 3 strikes already. Man.
We're going to ride on board with Chase Elliott and see what kind of issue he had here. Turn 4 again.
Oh.
Man. You know, he got
That's good right there.
that's way down into the braking zone. Here's a great look at it. Holy gracious.
That's hard. Yeah.
Man. So that's, that just continues to speak to how difficult this corner is.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it down there.
Well, I'm surprised we're seeing as much as we have because, again, like I feel like that I was down in that corner for the first race here, and everybody expected that to be a very deep, hard, slow braking zone where you'd really have to get the car stopped to turn into turn 4. But it's not as a sharp a corner as we expected. It's a bend. They go through there very fast. They do brake, and they have problems over the bumps in the braking zone itself. We've seen cars miss the corner and go forward into the runoff. But we are now seeing this driver right here, Chase Elliott, one of the best at it on road courses, miss the apex and get into the wall there. So it's going to, and again, it speaks to, I think, this is the first real time, the real chance these guys have had to push the cars in the dry in a long time. They're finding new limits.
Blaney said it's like a cattle chute down there in turn 4. Frank?
All right, so top 10 for practice. Bubba Wallace first, William Byron. Well, never mind. I didn't get it. Actually, I can rewind it. Give me a second. Top 10 for practice. I don't have it on screen for you, so you're going to have to listen closely. Practice concluded, and as soon as I refresh the page to get the full lineup, it's already on qualifying, so not able to go back to that until after qualifying concludes later. Bubba Wallace fastest in practice overall. William Byron second. We know he crashed his car. Chase Elliott pancaked the wall pretty good out of turn 4 not that long ago. He's third. Ty Gibbs fourth. Michael McDowell fifth. Carson Hocevar sixth. Shane Van Gisbergen seventh. Chris Buescher eighth. Tyler Reddick ninth. And Brad Keselowski rounds out the top 10. 3 Hendrick Motorsport cars. The 24, the 9, the 48 all made significant contact with a wall at somewhere around the racetrack, causing any sort of issues with the left rear. Elliott pancaked it pretty good. We don't know the full diagnosis there, but we do know that the 24 team, quite a bit of damage to the suspension of his car, and really just the left rear corner panel of the car in general. They will not be able to participate in qualifying. Alex Bowman in the 48 team currently working on replacing the left rear toe link to get him back out there for qualifying, which will be starting within the next 10 to 15 minutes. As for Chase Elliott, again, we don't know the full diagnosis, but he did get up against the wall in turn 4 on the racetrack. Kyle Larson, the only clean driver for Hendrick Motorsports in practice so far, though he was the slowest of the 4, 15th overall for Kyle Larson. So that is an update for Hendrick Motorsports. Denny Hamlin had an engine issue in the first half a lap of Group 1 practice. He will not participate in qualifying either. Obviously, being a chartered entry, despite not participating in qualifying, both Hamlin and Byron will be in the field. And I say that because we have 41 drivers on the entry list for this weekend, 5 open cars, and of those 5 open cars, 4 of them will get the race. 1 of them will have to go home. And those 5 open drivers would be the 78 of Katherine Legge, the 66 of Josh Bilicki, the 33 of Austin Hill, Corey Hyman, the 67, and Will Brown in the 13. So those will be the 5 that we will keep a close eye out when qualifying begins. Timed session for qualifying, 30 minutes will be on the clock, and you have the full 30 minutes to complete a lap. There is an alternate timing and scoring line on the racetrack, which is what we've seen with these road courses or bigger ovals like a Pocono and Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the last couple of years. This is so that way the drivers don't have to come all the way back around to the front straightaway. Obviously, they'll be leaving pit road. The alternate timing and scoring line, I believe, is in between turns 11 and 12. Entrance to pit road right off the exit of turn 12, so slightly before the start-finish line. That, and it's more so actually when you complete your timing lap, you can come into the pits if you don't want to run another lap in turn 12. You don't have to go all the way back around the racetrack again, especially as you're trying to coast it back into the pits. You don't want to use your stuff up, and there's going to be other drivers out on the racetrack that are going to be running at full speed, trying to complete a lap, and we don't want those cars having to dodge the guys going 50 miles an hour, trying to get back into the pits. Especially on a street course where there's really nowhere to kind of run offline and out of the way. So again, usually about 10 to 15 minutes for a cool down period. Got an interview right now. Daniel Trott is caught up with Carson Hocevar.
I mean, number one, being racing in the city is really fun, but just being on the limit of everything, being on the limit of, hitting the wall on entry, and then hitting the wall on apex, and hitting the wall on exit. There's a massive limit that either it forces me to slow down because you're going to hit the wall, or somehow it all works because I'm on the limit everywhere, and the limit here is how you go fast. Together, good race cars. For me, I don't know why I'm fast at road courses. Sometimes I don't know why I'm slow, and here it's nice to be fast so far, and hopefully we can continue that. Because there's times where I'm very hit or miss on road courses, and ready for the ovals, and then sometimes I come here and I'm excited. So today's so far the excitement day.
Look at this permagrin on Carson Hocevar's face. I love it. You came in a little bit early. I heard your crew chief say the conditions tomorrow, Carson, are just going to be far different than they are right now. It's so hot. It's sunny. Tomorrow, chance of rain and cloudy. What do we expect from the car, and how do you adjust that setup-wise and approach-wise?
Yeah, I mean, for us, ultimately, it was, they just didn't want to have to work on this thing. They want to hopefully get to qualifying good and start up front, just how difficult it is to pass. And then if it does rain, you're going to want to just be able to see and everything. So, yeah, I figured, lap 5, 6, I'm starting to get pushed more, be on the limit more, and the tires going away. And that's just a bad combination. So I was like, I'm good if you're good, and he said, I'm good if you're good, and we kind of just both mutually agreed, all right, let's just be done before you knock a toe link off or something, or just because how close you are to, just hitting the wall. So, watching some other guys fix their stuff, I think we made the right call, and being 6 in practice, hopefully we can take that speed and move on here.
He's happy, he's smiling, he's fast, and he's finished second twice in the Cup Series, guys. We'll see if he can get his first career win tomorrow, Mamba.
Down here on Lakeshore Drive, look at this awesome. This is a nice little view of shooting through the trees of Lake Michigan, all the sailboats. Everyone's having a good time out there, and everyone's having a good time in here. This is turn 2. You can see where some people have already had some issues. There's some tire marks headed to the tire bearers. Jamie, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about turn 4. It seems like that has been the hot spot. Dale and Steve and Adam have been talking about it all afternoon. Talking to AJ Allmendinger when we were doing the track walk, there's a lot of things going on over there. It's an off-camber right-hander. You're going over concrete, back to asphalt, back to concrete, and then trying to, make the corner. So that seems, Jamie, to be the most difficult part of this racetrack, bar none.
Yeah, well, Mamba, with the exception of Dale, Steve, and Adam, who are in the air-conditioned booth, I think everywhere around here is a hot spot right now.
Yeah, look at that shot, though, Jamie. I mean,
Beautiful.
This is everything right here. You take a look at this beautiful scenery that these drivers get to race in. We get to work in this weekend in one of the greatest cities in America. Absolutely. Oh, that lake. I mean, everything about this place is awesome. Shane Van Gisbergen absolutely thinks it's awesome as well. He was fast. You got the 24 headed to the garage. We've had some Hendrick Motorsports issues in this practice session, but we're going to see how they're going to line them up for the race tomorrow. Oh, boy. This is not going to end well. Okay. Oh, I thought he was going into the wall.
He definitely wasn't angled correctly, and he was able to stop before he had hit the wall, trying to get into the garage area. He's going to need some assistance from his team, or a tow truck, or something of that nature. I do think that Alex Bowman is going to be able to participate in qualifying. They should get the toe link fixed before then. So the only two drivers really that are not going to be able to complete a lap in qualifying would be Byron and Hamlin, at least so far, unless we have any other incidents that take place during qualifying while somebody's making their first lap. But based off of practice, again, Hamlin, engine failure, William Byron, crash in turn 4. Both were in Group 1 practice. Don't know the full details on whether the 24 will be able to use the primary car or if they will have to go to a backup for the race tomorrow. So that's going to be one of those developing stories overnight to see if that team is going to be able to get the car fixed in time for tomorrow. They would like to use the primary if possible, especially having laps with that car rather than not having any laps with the backup car. In the chat saying kind of fun to have more cars than spots unless you're the team heading home. Exactly. It's also good that the 2311 Toyotas and the Ford at Front Row Motorsports have their charters for at least a little bit longer. What is it, after Sonoma they lose them? Otherwise they'd have to try to qualify their way in as well. Which, mistake and you're in the wall on your qualifying lap and you're done. You're going home. So, yeah, they're very fortunate. I think after Sonoma in a couple of weeks is when those charters are to expire, if I'm not mistaken, based off of everything ongoing in the courts with NASCAR versus 2311 and Front Row Motorsports and that whole lawsuit with the charters. But I do believe they have them for a couple more weeks. But, you know, in instances like this, we may have more than a 40-car field going forward for the rest of the season. Really, this is the first time we've seen more than 40 cars on the entry list outside of the Daytona 500 in the next-gen era. So while this isn't a normal thing to happen in most given weeks, we're seeing it here this weekend. No specific order for qualifying with it being a time session. Usually, if it was an oval, this would be the order in which they would be going out to qualify, but that is not the order in which they will go on the racetrack. You can literally just go out there whenever you want as soon as that clock starts and we get the green flag to begin qualifying. Coverage of the Loop 110 Chicago Street Race for the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be on at 4:30 p.m. Eastern today. So about 2 hours from now, we'll be live. Again, NASCAR Xfinity Series racing. Tomorrow, we'll go live for the Cup Series race with a pre-race at 1:30 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon. We'll take a quick break. You're listening live. Qualifying coming up shortly for the NASCAR Cup Series.
All the way around in your lap there. Now, the beauty of group qualifying is you can run as many laps as you want. You have a window of time. We split the field in half, and we'll get it all done. Basically, you are qualifying against everyone. So we'll see if track conditions improve or get cleaned up. We saw the 24 and the 9 both have issues in practice. I think they're now both back in the garage here, Alan.
Yeah, and I'm with the 9 pretty lonely back here. You can see this is the Chicago Street Course version of the garage. The track back that way, so they push the 9 all the way back here. We can kind of get a better look at the damage. It's the left rear. All we know, something with the suspension is broken. They're not going to go out there and make a qualifying lap. Crew Chief Alan Gustafson just told me it's not a backup car situation. They are going to be able to fix it, but some sort of suspension issue that they're going to have to fix. We asked Chase for a comment. What happened going into turn 4, coming off the corner? He declined comment right now. A little frustrated after having a fast car. Yeah, just kissing that wall.
When I look at that 9, it's not really the damage on.
All right, so there you have it. Chase Elliott not going to be participating as well as Hamlin and Byron in qualifying. He got in the wall late in the Group 2 session. It was in the waning seconds, waning minute or so of practice, so very close to having a clean session. Not sure exactly when in that time frame Bowman had gotten up against the wall or exactly where on the track he had his contact. His a lot less significant than what the damage appeared to be on the left side of both the 9 of Elliott and the 24 of Byron. 18 minutes to go. 20 minutes for this session, by the way, not 30, so I apologize for that. I think it depends on the length of the road course, because I swear at Mexico City it was 30 minutes a couple of weeks ago. But 20 minutes for qualifying. It is a shorter circuit, 2.2 miles. Tighter, obviously. Austin Hendrick looks to be the first car on track who will complete a lap when he does get back to the alternate timing line next time by. He's currently working his way through turns 1 and 2 as I speak.
I don't know if I'd be chasing the 2 because the Penske car struggled in practice earlier, and this 2 was 28th overall.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is catch him.
I'd be curious to see, though, how many speed they will gain from some adjustments they could have made between practice and qualifying. Steve Riley was 30th, right?
I just realized I didn't fast forward when I had to pause it after practice. Let me catch up real quick.
Group 1 session, record a time here and see how it all blends together after Group 2 has their opportunity.
This tire is the tire that we ran in Coda and Mexico City. It has a little bit more wear and fall off than the tire we ran at Chicago last year. The teams think that fall off might fall somewhere in the middle, still between Coda and Mexico City, but still, I wonder what that might, play into strategy. We know that the teams want to be on pit road as limit amount as possible, so maybe one stop is possible, or at least flipping the stage 2 and running all the way to the end. But with this tire and how it has shown some degradation over the races we used in this year, it's possible you could see somebody take advantage of new tires late in the race. Also in qualifying, you're going to go out there early in this session, go ahead and put a lap down. Does the tire have enough ability to go back out there and fire off and be able to run an even better lap? Their lap time, as a fall off with lap time loss from lap to lap too much to overcome.
Yeah, watching these guys compared to themselves, they're
A little bit of a lag.
feel like they're
There we go.
actually trending better. Like the lap doesn't quite give up on the first lap. But to your point about the 2's overall speed, we see Hale and Custer jump above him instantly. Gregson down the top of the board by a big margin, 7/10 of a second faster than Hendrick.
Custer jumps up there. Was P1, now P2. Had a great qualifying run at Mexico City. Finished 6th in that race, and it's really good the next week in qualifying at Pocono.
Oh, it's 14th overall in practice, and now at the top of the board, just about 3/10 quicker than what he ran in practice. Cole Custer came all the way from 31st in practice up to 2nd overall right now, and he's improved 8/10, almost a full second.
Custer won the Xfinity race here a couple of years ago. Austin Hill up there in the top 5 doing double duty. This weekend, full-time on the Xfinity side is Riley Herbst now jumps to the top. And if you go back to Mexico City, remember he qualified inside the top 15 out of a very competitive race car when we were there last month.
30th overall in practice, and now he improved by more than a second on his practice time.
Will Brown, P1 in the 13, that third entry for Team Colleague.
I think the 13 trying to get a decent lap down and make sure he was in the race. One of those cars that needed to qualify in and then could really put a flyer out there.
Custer improves again. Up to 4th. He's going to come down pit road.
Yellow in the 2nd. And then Grillo Pickle Machine, popular paint scheme in the garage. Right there, the 2nd. Good for him.
Yeah, his best career finish on a road course. Indianapolis, his rookie campaign. Finished top 5 before we went back oval racing at the Brickyard. A good young talent inside the top 10. Speaking of which, 67, Corey Hine. Won the last 3 road races in the Truck Series where he competes full time.
And I talked to this group yesterday, and they were the team that kind of got me onto that strategy of, hey, we're going to just ask them to go run what we think is a good enough lap to make the field, see where that shakes out, and then kind of let them loose. But we saw, look at the stacked talent that had issues, right? Chase Elliott and those guys. So right now, Heim is the slowest.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. He ran slower than Bullock. He ran a whole second faster in practice. Corey Heim at that 67. I wonder if he had an issue on his lap because he didn't continue to run. He came to pit road after making just one single lap on the racetrack. So was there some contact somewhere as you're watching this 42 car struggle, just overdriving that final corner.
All hands
missing the exit there, having to kind of stop the car out the wall there, just right at the point where you want to be accelerating. And I'm with you that high. So I had the 66 of the go or go homers in practice being the most pace, but he's ahead of Hines. So either too conservative a lap or an issue. But that's going to be the story for this last 12 minutes for me, right? Is can Hines go out there? Can he get his composure? Can he put a better lap on the on the board? Remember, Denny Hamlin, the 11 won't run. Neither the 24 Byron. So those two names will stay shaded.
And the 9.
Ryan Blaney out on track. His teammates have already made a lap here. One qualified. Logano 6th. Hendrick 9th on the board. Blaney has one on the road. Got done at the Roval a number of years ago. But it's been a while since he finished top 5 in a road race. He's trying to regather his rhythm as driver 12.
Most of the Penske cars all struggled in practice. This car did not. What did they bring to the racetrack that maybe their teammates can add to their cars, if anything?
Yeah, it's crazy. I look at these Penske cars and I think about qualifying last week and how they just dominated the session on Friday. If you throw Josh Berry and the Wood brothers, they take the front 2 rows, then they get involved in those crashes. They have no fruit for their labor. So you come to this weekend, practice didn't go great for them. We'll see how it nets out qualifying and ultimately what strategy they can employ here tomorrow to make something out of it in the race.
Yeah, thank you.
So we were worried about Corey Hyman. Maybe some problems on his lap, and here's the contact. Oh, he had a big moment. And you can see the left rear is bent. The toe link may be bent on that left rear. It looks like it's towed out to me, Steve, from this contact right here. I agree. Obviously, it didn't break. The tire will be going back and forth, but it's bent. Shortening it up, pointing that tire to the left, which means it's going to be very hard for Heim to improve. Slowest of the cars here that need to qualify, Katherine Legge in the next group. That'll be basically her target time. She has to outrun Heim, and that will be a major hit for Toyota in 2311. If Corey Heim, you pointed out his truck numbers, unbelievable. I think, or not making the show was not even a consideration, I think, for the 67 car. Well, the contact with the wall would not result in a whole full second loss in time. He had to drive the remainder of that lap, quite a few corners, with that toe leg bent. Very uncomfortable, and still ran a 32.9, just 1 second off of what he practiced. So I'm actually kind of impressed with his ability to go ahead and complete the lap and maybe put down enough of a lap time to get him into the race.
Yep. Blaney coming back to that alternate start-finish line off of turn 11. See where he flashes. Up to 9th, Danielle.
Adam, wouldn't surprise anybody if this guy, Michael McDowell, won the race tomorrow and punched his ticket to the playoffs, given how good he is on road courses and how fast you were in practice, Michael. As you watch this group qualify, what are you thinking to make your lap?
I think everybody has all eyes on SVG here to see how big of a lap he puts up. But really proud of everybody at Spire Motorsports. We got a fast Chevy. We didn't have the outright just quick 1 lap speed, but 5 lap, 10 lap, it held on really good. So looking forward to that for the race tomorrow. But today's all about that 1 lap, so we'll see if we can get this DePaul University car up front, or maybe start on the pole. Haven't had a road course pole yet, so it's a big to-do. Hopefully we got the car to do it today. But it's a tough place. I mean, you just got to put it right on the line, and you take big chances for a big lap and hope it pays off.
You haven't had a pole on road course, but you did have a top 5 in this race last year, so we wish you the best of luck tomorrow. Let's send it back up to Adam.
Mike Briscoe jumped to 3rd.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point right here watching this 88 Shane. Maybe gets Burger run around the racetrack, and right behind him is Suarez in the 99, trending just a 10th down from Brown's time, not even in the green.
Shane Van Gisbergen goes to the top, and right behind him, there he is following along, Daniel Suarez.
By 6/10.
I feel like pretty smart of Daniel to go out there and follow his teammate. Daniel was 34th in practice, way down the sheet, struggling with that car. He goes out there and intentionally follows the 88s. We see Blaney pop up to the second spot on his second lap. So that's really going to benefit Daniel, give him a much, much better starting spot had he not been able to go out there and sort of have that rabbit to chase around the racetrack here in qualifying. Chase Briscoe, bottom left. You see flashing into the green. He is heading into turn 7. This is where I thought SVG just really excelled. Let's do this Congress Plaza, but the 19 holding strong. Man, this would be a big upset. Even Michael McDowell was looking at SVG's lap.
He's been a major leaguer in qualifying this year. 4 poles for Briscoe.
You get it?
And
Oh, wow. Briscoe to the top.
273. Impressive.
What a
for the
lap.
driver from Mitchell, Indiana.
Wow. That's amazing. What a lap. I talked to SVG this week. He kind of took me for a lap around here and broke down for the fans. And I said, who's your biggest competition? He said, you will have no idea how much the whole garage improved from year 1 to year 2. So coming here, he didn't dare list a name, Dale, because he said there are many drivers that in the right car on the right day could absolutely outrun me.
Briscoe went out there and found 2 seconds.
Wow.
2 seconds for practice. He was 27th on the board overall. And went out there and now you could find a couple chances here and there, maybe do some things a little bit better. But he found chunks and chunks of lap time on the racetrack.
Briscoe, a winner at Pocono, locked into the playoffs. His first victory arriving the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing. But as I said, really, really good on pole day this season is Briscoe. Barry just jumped up to 16th on the board.
And this is SVG down the front stretch. So he ran a very slow, like 20 seconds off lap, I think, to cool everything. And now that Briscoe has put that lap up, I think SVG has got information over the radar right there. I mean, dead even with Briscoe. Heim is also the point. Now, remember, we're not thinking Heim for the pole, but he needs to run maybe a couple seconds off Briscoe. 1.5 seconds would be a big improvement for Heim. Look at SVG. Can't he do it? Suarez is out there still chasing him.
Smart move. And the first time to do it again. Teammates at Trackhouse. Look at this lap. Into 6. Down the hill, Michigan Avenue, the right-hander at turn 7.
SVG's going to get him back again.
Coming through Congress Plaza.
He wants to take the air out of the 19 cars balloon right here.
Oh.
To be in a monster.
Oh, my gosh.
Beat this one. I mean, just an incredible lap for Shane Van Gisbergen. Under 1.5 minutes. That is unreal.
What the heck? So SVG was 0.5 second quicker than Ryan Blaney's fast time initially after SVG's first lap. So he comes into the pits, he's 0.5 second ahead. Chase Briscoe topped that first lap by SVG by about 1/10 second, surprising everybody. Like, oh, okay, somebody's quicker than Shane Van Gisbergen. So SVG goes right back on the track after Briscoe pulls in after his lap. And SVG's 0.7 quicker than Briscoe's lap that beat SVG's original best lap, which was 0.5 second better than the rest of the field. So now the gap between first and third in qualifying is 1.2 seconds. 1.2 seconds in qualifying is the difference between first and third. That's how good Shane Van Gisbergen is. I'm taking him for the win already today. I mean, who's going to beat this guy tomorrow? He's literally going to have to cram it into the wall or get taken out on a restart. It's the only way he's losing this race tomorrow. And that was what I said at Mexico City, too, and I think that's even more the case because he's even quicker than what he was 3 weeks ago. And he won by 15 seconds that day. I mean, that's incredible. I've not seen that ever before. I've never seen anything like that in qualifying before.
Back from the this one, it was a 133.3. Not as good as the 129. I'm sorry, 132.9 that he ran earlier. So he's to try to run this second lap here. Now that he kind of maybe understands what that rear end's doing.
He is playing with
moment right there for him. Big moments in this car, just uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just really look at his water and all better off. I mean,
And he does improve. He goes to a 132.5.
That lap could be the difference. If he makes the race, what he just did on a bent rear suspension car, give me the reason he's here. And I'm with you. The 90-degree corners he can figure out, but those long sweeping ones look super uncomfortable.
Malicki had returned to the track and gone a little quicker too. His
He beat him again.
1:31.98 in the 66. You pick up Christopher Bell in the 20. Talked earlier about how good he's been on the road. Winner earlier this season at Circuit of the Americas, second in Mexico City. After he qualified outside the top 30, drove it through the field.
Cars on the racetrack, 10 or 12 of them, they're kind of scattered all over. Last ditch efforts to try to improve. Even if you can't be the fastest and win the pole, you can continue to improve your session. I have my eye on Will Brown all the way down there, currently in 5th. Another supercar driver.
Supercar champion. Got it done a season ago, did Will Brown. Second in the championship this year.
Gallo jumps up to 3rd.
Yeah, 2 Penske drivers inside the top 5 right now.
After the practice, Dale, you pointed out a couple times. I agree. They didn't really show great practice, but they're showing up in qualifying.
Bell stays 9th. You talked earlier about put somebody in a position for success and they'll bulldog their way to the finish. That's Joey Logano too, right? I mean, we just give him an opportunity and he will take advantage. 3rd right now in qualifying and looking for more as we go under a minute remaining in this Group 1 qualifying session. And you just have to start your lap. You don't have to finish it before the clock expires. So still some work to be done for a number of drivers.
He's got to be really happy too because they were way down in 33rd on the board in practice and not any speed in his car. Some of his teammates struggled as well. So the changes that they made on this car have really helped Logano and probably brightened up his thoughts and expectations for tomorrow.
Logano stays 3rd. Time winding down. Shane Van Gisbergen at the top. This is Group 1. Group 2 will go out, and they will get 20 minutes as well to try and best them. We'll blend them all together. And problems here for Noah Gregson in the 4th.
So that's what a broken toe link looks like. Right? We've seen bent where they point the wrong direction. When it finally breaks, this is what happens. It just flops around back and forth. He's already off speed right here. So, yeah, it finally breaks. He's obviously hit something.
Oh.
Yeah, I would imagine where he's at on the racetrack, that was probably another turn for a victim.
This fast lap had him 12th here in Group 1.
He's going to be in the way of... Oh, no, never mind. Thought he was going to be in Chastain's way, finishing up his lap.
Come by.
One car entering 11 now.
Doing a nice job. Not trying to not mess up anybody else's lap. There's a bunch of flyers out there.
Surprised how much drama that we've seen in practice and qualifying. I mean, this track, even though this is year 3, it still continues to challenge drivers.
It's so unforgiving. Gregson's able to limp back to pit road. Hot lap for Shane Van Gisbergen. Won the pole earlier today for the Xfinity race. And he leads Group 1. Can he hang on in Group 2? No doubt he's the favorite coming for the weekend. So successful here in Chicago.
Cars are too fragile for street racing. Yeah, I do think the concrete walls and not having the ability to have safer barrier around most of the corners on the track because of how tight already the circuit is, with it being a street course, is damaging the toe links a little bit more than what you would see on a standard oval or even another road course, if somebody were to hit a softer wall. There are some walls around the racetrack that have like added tire barriers in front of the concrete. But where a lot of the drivers have been hitting the wall throughout practice and qualifying today has been more towards corner exit, staying in the gas, still kind of pushing hard and stepping over the edge and getting up against the concrete portion of the wall. Pretty much by the time it's not even corner exit anymore, it's more just the straightaway where they're clipping it. Because we saw Katherine Legge get up against the tire barrier in turn 6, I believe it was, in practice, and she didn't have any sort of a toe link damage. It really wasn't much damage on the car at all. She'll be able to participate. No issues with the suspension. She'll be coming up for the Group 2 session of qualifying. So Group 1's 20 minutes are up. Shane Van Gisbergen with the fastest time, 89.656. Is the time to beat for the pole, and I'm just going to say it now, nobody's beating that time. I mean, he's got 0.6 over Chase Briscoe. And Briscoe had a heck of a lap, considering that he is about a half a second ahead of Logano in third. But 1.1 seconds is the difference between SVG's fastest lap and Joey Logano. And again, if you missed it, because it was a timed session, SVG went out kind of in the middle going to the run. He set the fastest lap by... At the time, Blaney was in second. He was about 6/10, 7/10, or sorry, no, he was about half a second quicker than Ryan Blaney. And then Chase Briscoe, who was running a lap as SVG was finishing, Briscoe tops SVG's time, surprisingly, by about 1/10 of a second or so. Quick lap, SVG then goes back out onto the racetrack after sitting in the pits for a couple of minutes and puts down an even quicker lap than what Briscoe had put down, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't like he barely topped him by a couple tenths. He tops him by just over 0.6 of a second. Obviously, he's not going to be able to pace that quickly in the race tomorrow, so I don't expect him to be, 0.6 of a second faster lap every lap throughout the course of the run. But being that much better in qualifying, I think is concerning for the rest of the field, especially if he's 1.1 seconds quicker than third place. Now, again, he's not going to be a second faster than the third place car every lap in the race tomorrow. That's just not going to happen. There's going to be too many other... He's going to burn his tires up too quickly is what he's going to end up doing. So he is going to have to manage his equipment better, but we saw him do that in Mexico City a few weeks ago. So, I still think he's the favorite, and I think it's not even really that close. Restarts are chaotic in this sport, especially with double file restarts. So, he gets hit from behind. Somebody overcooks a turn 1 entry just one time from behind him. Pit road speeding penalty. Very slow stop by the pit crew under maybe caution flag pit stops that drops him back in traffic. Like that could be the equalizer. But unless there's a major mistake by either the driver or the team, that's going to be what's going to cost Shane Van Gisbergen tomorrow. Or the rain. I mean, it could rain tomorrow, and that could be an equalizer as well. Here's Chase Briscoe.
Thanks for shout out, guys. Good job. Just getting it better. Deceiving. I knew we were getting closer. Just the tires are kind of worn out to that point. So, yeah, good lap. Not a great lap. SVG, it's just it's almost embarrassing for us, right? Just to be that far off and still, have a good lap. So, yeah, good job by him. Obviously, this is like the most intense qualifying session we do all year. Next week in Sonoma, if you miss a corner, you just go in the dirt. Here you hit the wall. So you're on the absolute ragged edge. It's a lot of fun for us. So, yeah, glad we, at least we'll have a decent starting spot tomorrow. Obviously, with, the second group going, you never know. But, yeah, did our part so far and just see what we got tomorrow now.
Good day so far. I call it a pretty good week. Earlier this week, you're throwing out the first pitch for the Chicago Cubs. I think your only worry was not making YouTube for all the wrong reasons. We got the pitch here. How'd it go?
Yeah, I could have definitely thrown it harder. I just wasn't sure about the accuracy, so I made sure I at least threw a strike. Wow, I've never been so nervous in my life. I mean, I was literally shaking before I went out there. It's one of those no-win situations. If you do it right, people that follow you see it, but outside of that, nobody does. But if you do it wrong, the whole world sees it's on SportsCenter that night. So that was the whole goal going into it. I was glad I obviously threw a strike. So, yeah, I played a lot of baseball as a kid, and that was a dream come true for me. Just to, step on the mound at Wrigley in a major league uniform was pretty dang special. So, yeah, it's been a fun week so far.
All right, if Chase Briscoe wins tomorrow, I promise a lot of people are going to see this thing, guys.
Did you see him on the mound? He had his lip tucked under the teeth. I mean, it's like, I'm going to bring it. He went,
and like a pitcher, it was obvious a strike. He's not even questioning.
look at his face.
Yeah, yeah, little bleed.
There it is.
The mound. From the mound, A-plus. And he's right. There's no, like, you have no chance of anything good happening if you bounce one in.
That's kind of what he said to Allen. I mean, you just don't want to screw it up.
All right, right. Good for him. I might have to say no.
I'm going to tell you, the youth leagues in Mitchell, Indiana, very competitive for baseball. You know, as we watch the second group get ready to go,
Dale
just transitioned right back.
Dale's like, I don't know what you idiots are talking about, but qualified's happening.
Hey, Steve, Adam, I've had enough of your nonsense.
I wore the shirts at the line I'm drawing.
I noticed the 48 car Bowman was in this line of cars pulling out on the racetrack, so the toe link repair to that car is done, and they're going to go out there and make an effort to qualify. Unlike his teammates, Byron and Chase Elliott, who had to go to the garage for further repairs on their cars. And there's Katherine Legge at the back of this field. Katherine Legge has a chance to maybe go out there and qualify her way into this field. I've struggled in qualifying with the damage to his car and ran a 132.5. Katherine was at a 94 flat in practice. She also got into the tires and may have had some repairs as well to make. So this is a very dramatic qualifying session. You get to find out exactly how this is all going to play out next 18 and a half minutes.
I didn't have the Katherine Legge, Corey Heim face-off on the bingo card
telling
coming
you.
of the weekend, but here we are with Group 2.
There's a little practice for your bracket right here, because it's head-to-head. This is the driver here, though. You know, like Briscoe being second, another Gibbs car with Ty Gibbs driving it.
And Bell fourth.
Yeah, it's a big gap to SVG, but now Mexico watching a heck of a battle between Gibbs and SVG. I think we could see something here today.
I'm still curious, how would everything have played out in Mexico if the caution had come, you know?
Yeah, so basically the caution you're talking about is it was a split decision on strategy, and the caution ruined the 54s. It's kind of sunk them. But right here, trendy green, it's only one corner, but at this point, you'll take any green on the board. Gave a little bit up.
Just breaking so much earlier.
It's only lap one. We've seen them all improve on lap two. Shane went out and ran his best lap on the third lap on tires. So a little bit of speed in the tire before it starts to fall off. I'd be really surprised, really impressed if they went out there and beat SVG on lap one of their run here. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Right now, nobody gets second lap.
That makes me so nervous. Oh my goodness. They just look out of control in those braking zones to turn four. They're flying, you know.
I think they are out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of controlled chaos as they bounce your way down in there.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why you're at 6.
Goodness. Squealing and screaming around this racetrack. Now, Bowman, who is behind his 54 as Gibbs completes his lap, is way off pace, and he is held up all of those cars behind him.
Yeah.
Coming to the start-finish line. That's probably hurt the lap time for Dylan. As well as Busher.
Busher's lap was third, so, you know, it was a good lap, but to your point, it could have maybe held up a little bit.
Lap one, in a little traffic. Third, pretty good for Busher, and all the hopping around for Gibbs that we watched, he's fourth.
Now, Bowman ran that first lap. It was quite a bit off pace, but maybe just trying to fill this thing out as they made those repairs to the left rear suspension, and now he seems to be pushing a little harder, only 2/10 off, as he's about a third of the way through the lap. Great shot right here. You can see him a little more conservative most through that corner. Certainly respecting the danger in turn 4.
Allmendinger 10th on lap 1. He's on track right now in the 16.
I don't think this is a too terrible lap for Alex, actually. It's so hard because SVG is so far out from second. He lost about quarter of a second, maybe almost a half second there in the last couple of corners, but that puts him up at fifth.
Yeah, from outside the top 20 to inside the top 5 for Alex Bowman.
1 second is the gap from first to fifth, and most of that is from first to second. And SVG over 6/10 clears. Katherine Legge continues her first lap. Just didn't have the pace. This one is kind of trending right on. She needs to find a little pace through here. This will be better than the first lap, but I don't think this is close enough yet. As you said, Dale, that these tires allow multiple runs. Let's see what this lap is. She needs to run a 32 and change. That's a 33 and change, so she picked up a lap.
Oh,
Man, that's a big hit with the left front tire.
Once you get behind and you start chasing it, it just gets more and more difficult, which I would say is what makes what Corey Hunt did so impressive, because he knew he had the issue and he was able to go out and massage a wounded race car and pick up some speed. That fine line, just overdoing it, trying to get too much.
This lap, once again, is an improvement on the last one. She's only about a half a second off back in here at turn 4. About 1 second off right here. So that's 1 second off SVG.
yeah.
So to give you an idea,
It's a really good lap for Katherine right now. I think she's going to beat Corey.
Change. So she's trending the right direction. Can she continue? This is 6 over to 7. And she is trying to make the field to send Corey Heim home in a 23-11 car.
I think she is. If she keeps what she's doing right now, she should beat Corey Hunt.
On the streets.
She's about 6 to 7 tenths to the. Oh, she lost a lot of time in turn 8. Oh, man. She had it by about 6 or 7 tenths of a second. She gave a lot of it up in turn 8. It's going to be really close to the line now. And a big slide, went really wide. Couldn't pick the throttle back up as quickly as she would have hoped. And we're going to scroll down the list here and see if she bumped. I got to refresh my page. Hang on. I realized I was behind on the qualifying tracker. Oh, no, our list is not there. She did beat it. Okay. She gave up a lot of time. By a little over a tenth of a second, Katherine Legge has bumped Corey Heim. Heim had gotten up against the wall on his first qualifying lap back in Group 1. Had some significant suspension damage. Ran 2 more laps, a little bit better than the first, but not quick enough. And he gets eliminated. Oh, boy. Eliminated by both Josh Bilicki and Katherine Legge. Austin Hill really even not that much quicker than the 66 or the 78, but Hill times his way in. So Corey Heim will be going home. That, oh boy, by the way, that I just mentioned, Bubba Wallace spun out of turn, I believe, 9. And he was backing up out of the way and almost backed it into another car. I couldn't tell who it was that was trying to pass him on the inside. Close call. Wallace, who was fastest in practice overall, spinning on his qualifying lap, so he's going to come into the pits. They're going to cool the engine down, and I'm sure we'll see Wallace back out on the track to try to complete another lap. Kyle Larson also had an issue on his qualifying lap. He's currently 33rd. He was 4 seconds slower than Wallace, so I'd imagine he probably also had a spin, just like the 23. So Wallace and Larson with problems in qualifying. Not a good day for Hendrick Motorsports here in Chicago. Byron Elliott crash in practice. Larson spins in qualifying. He's last right now. Bowman broke a toe link. He got against the wall in practice. Luckily, they got the toe link fixed for qualifying. Bowman in qualifying is currently 10th.
And 5th earlier this season in Mexico City and Reddick, too. We mentioned that he was chasing down Bowman into the race last season, got into the wall, but a really good road racer, was 2nd here in Chicago last season.
Let's take a look at the replay of Bubba Wallace and how he got himself turned around here.
Sorry, what do you think? Yep, all reverter. Yeah, damn near 90 degrees over. Yeah, I don't think and you're going across Toyota. That's it. I don't think like all the quarter panels at all.
He gassed it up and he hit it. He said square, which I agree, kind of square to the rim. Upper. And then watch this. The 5 slow, 38 slows, and now look right here, the 43.
Oh.
And these guys are coming to begin their laps. Like that's at the start finish line. So they're coming to begin the lap right here. So that kills this lap. They have to go all the way back around another time before they can actually start to time a competitive lap.
I would have just pitted at that
Chaos on
point.
the streets, Adam. We haven't even got racing yet.
Oh, the 6. The 6 of Keselowski's backed it into the tire barrier. Looks like he's going to get away.
He's got some damage on the left side, though.
So Brad gets down into turn
Oh,
7 right here. First time we've really seen a car have a problem here. Downhill braking zone. Easy to get in trouble, but kind of bounces off the tire barrier and should be okay.
Everybody's wiping out in qualifying. My
Right now
goodness.
inside the top 10, 3, 6th, Pusher 7th as we ride along with BK.
Gregson, Heim, Catherine had an issue, recovered. Keselowski, Wallace, Larson.
His lap. And here's the 2 that were kind of blocked by Bo Wallace. And the 43 of Jones says, I'm done with my lap. I'll get out of your way here if you want to keep running. Little gentlemanly behavior right there to allow Zane Smith to continue a lap. Zane in 28, Jones in 31st.
Watch the tracker. McDowell in the green down there was.
Yeah, he's over on the backside of the track at turn 5. So still half of the lap to go for McDowell.
Hocevar, his teammate on track, top 5. Maybe 6th in practice. Really good was the 77.
Oh, Mr. Excitement.
Hocevar is just about a third of the way through the lap, coming through turn 2.
Steve,
I just feel like they're
these TNT broadcasts, and even it might have even started on the prime side. I've heard Steve Letarte call Carson Hocevar Mr. Excitement a couple of times. I think he's got to stop calling him that because that's Jimmy Spencer's nickname. Like his nickname was Mr. Excitement. Can't give the same nickname to another person. You got to come up with another nickname. But he's used it a lot. I've noticed that on the little bit of the actual broadcast that I have been able to listen to with these live commentary streams. Shane Van Gisbergen is obviously still the quickest on track right now. Michael McDowell is the fastest from Group 2. You can see the Group 2 times listed on our screen, but for whatever reason on NASCAR.com with the raw feed, they don't have Group 1 and Group 2 intertwined. That's how we're deciding the qualifying order. So 7 minutes to go. After Shane Van Gisbergen, who still has the fast time to beat of an 89.656, Michael McDowell is second. And again, fastest in this group. Then Tyler Reddick from this group is third, not anymore. Carson Hocevar's third. So Hocevar jumps to third. Then Reddick bumped to fourth. Chase Briscoe fifth. Kyle Busch sixth. Ryan Preece seventh. Chris Buescher eighth. Ty Gibbs ninth. Austin Dillon is our current top 10. And as far as the open entries, the driver that will be going home will be the 67 of Corey Heim, who had gotten up against the wall in his first qualifying lap. Enough damage to where he was not able to run a quick enough lap to time himself in. There were 41 entries this weekend. That means one driver was going home. That driver, again, is Corey Heim. The difference between him and Katherine Legge. Legge beat him by just under 0.2 of a second, and then Josh Bilicki just over 0.2 of a second. Both of those two barely scraping their way by Corey Heim for that final transfer spot to get into the show. So for 2311 Racing, they will not have 4 cars tomorrow. And the guy who's been dominating the Truck Series season with that mistake early will be headed home early this weekend. 5.5 minutes to go in qualifying. Kyle Larson's back on the track. He got against the... let me start that over again. Kyle Larson is back on track. He did get against the wall on the exit of a left-handed turn. You can see scuff marks on the right side of his car. That's why he's 38th in qualifying right now. So he's just trying to pick up whatever he can. Not a good day, like I mentioned, for Hendrick Motorsports. All 4 cars have gotten up against the wall in either qualifying or practice. 2 of them not even able to qualify. William Byron and Chase Elliott, due to incidences in practice. Denny Hamlin had an engine failure in practice. There has just been a lot of commotion in practice and qualifying today. So 5 minutes to go. We'll take our final break of the stream. when we get at the end of qualifying, obviously on screen I won't be able to show you guys, but I'll obviously read off the starting lineup for tomorrow's race. Again, 5 minutes remain in qualifying for Group 2.
Has chosen to dominate. Christopher goes back to back. These races are just so much similar in racing in Mexico City. In the first, Nick called the trophy. Is she? Experience. Happy minding, thank you.
Will we see the rugby punt or a celebration of a different kind here in Chicago? Someone quite capable. Kyle Larson was 15th in practice. He's going to get on it here.
It's about 6 cars out on the racetrack right now with Kyle. But a lot of clean racetrack out here in front of him. '23 and Bubba Wallace spun around in turn 11. A little bit of damage. Let's listen in if they think they can get another lap.
Okay, so here's the plan. So you're going to start it up at neutral. We're going to push you out and get you a bit of a going running start here. And then your clutch at the same time.
So it sounds like they have a clutch issue, saying if the clutch works. You mentioned the car wouldn't start. This is a mechanical. Now, it did spin out. I don't know if this is part of the wreck, but looks like he's got it fired off there, and he's on his way. And remember, they had a starter issue at Pocono, too, trying to go into qualifying, where the car blocked. The starter actually broke a couple teeth off and blocked the entire drive line up.
Larson looking good here. Turn 11, back to the alternate start-finish line for driver 5. Lost a little there through Congress Plaza, but he's going to make a jump.
Yeah, 14th.
Up to
That's
14th.
much better lap for Larson. Start mid-pack instead of the back of the pack.
Hey, confirm your brake when you enter.
He's going to run another one, too.
Inside of 3 minutes to go. Group 2 practice.
I know we've covered a lot. William Byron, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin have not run. They're not going to run. Just to your point, Adam, that we know they're going to be coming from the back because of damage.
He will throw it around, won't he, AJ Allmendinger?
The type of squealing is like a new thing for me. There's not a lot of tracks we can hear the squealing.
Yeah. Currently 16th on the board for Allmendinger. He stays right there. Couple of seconds behind on that lap. 3 career wins, all of them coming on the road for the driver out of California.
Only 2/10 off.
It seems like everybody's able to stay relatively close to the speed of SVG up until around this part of the racetrack here. Now, the backside of the track is where SVG really gets it done. And that's because you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 all right there together. A lot of content in the racetrack in terms of really hitting the line perfectly. And SVG is just so good at putting multiple corners.
Wallace
up to
around
the three with
again.
another issue here.
Yeah, he had flashed the green right when he started his lap.
Man, this day went away quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, spin on 2 qualifying laps for Bubba Wallace, so he will be starting deep in the field as well. 38th after being fastest in practice earlier. His teammate Tyler Reddick's in 4th, so I would imagine that he would have had at least speed capable of having a good qualifying effort, but obviously not going to be the case anymore. Time is frozen with the Wallace incident. 56 seconds remain in qualifying.
NASCAR will absolutely want to see if those tires are going to be ready to handle the next car that goes into them.
Wow, there you go. So you see how good of a job they did, but here there'll be a great shot. Look at that.
Yeah, so they'll have to re-straighten up the tire pack.
And with 56 seconds left, remember earlier when Chase Elliott's team said 1:19 to come around and get a green? I don't see anyone can start another lap.
Yeah.
We'll see if NASCAR makes it official or if they add time. But with 56 seconds and everyone starting from pit road,
I don't think, yeah.
unless they don't make everybody come back to pit road, there's a few cars rolling around slow, but I imagine they will.
And Bubba had such a great practice session, and now sitting 38 of the cars.
Check your clutch here for me.
The last of the cars have timed.
And qualifying is over. Shane Van Gisbergen starts on the pole in Chicago, third career pole. Last time he led into the green, last month, Mexico City. And we know how that turned out. Dominated the race, won a stage, and pulled away at the end. Let's hear from the man from Auckland, New Zealand. Here's Alan.
High fives all around for the 88 crew, Shane Van Gisbergen. Another fast lap. They didn't make it easy on you, though. You went back out and you put a hot one down. Where'd you find that extra time when you went back out?
Cheers. Yeah, that was epic. I think the guys did a great job. Where the tech Chevys are really good. I'm lucky boy. I've got some great cars today, and Xfinity pole, Cup pole's pretty special. So yeah, look forward to the race tomorrow. But yeah, what a tune-up. Practice wasn't that great, and went out in qualifying. Car felt really good and laid down 2 pretty good laps.
We've heard you mention how the field can pick up its game, its skill. How do you do that for yourself? How have you upped your game?
You can always do something better, right? You're always learning, and I learned a lot in the Xfinity car this morning, and that just gives you a great leg up for the Cup car. So I think it's great running 2 cars, get a good advantage there, and yeah, it certainly helps.
Big smile from SVG. He's got the best seat in the house for the start of the race.
Yeah, why not? You know, just give the guy who's already better than everybody else more track time than anybody else. What could go wrong? Congratulations otherwise, though. Shane Van Gisbergen on the pole for the second time this season. Not counting, of course, the All-Star Open, which was an exhibition race. But as far as points races go, getting 2 poles on the year and 2 of the 3 road course races on the season, and the 1 street course race, obviously, right now also. Refresh the page and see if they have the full qualifying list for us. Here's Katherine Legge, who gets the final transfer spot on qualifying. She'll be in the show tomorrow.
I think making history, the first woman to ever compete in the Chicago street course race. Katherine, you were just smiling watching back some of those highlights.
Yeah, I was thinking, way to go, showing all my minor indiscretions there. I tried my best to mess that qualifying up, honestly. I think it was a lot of pressure to come in and with only 20 minutes of practice on a street course where there's no room for error to try and put it in the show. But I actually feel pretty good about it now. Having done that, we would have been a lot faster, I think, had I not kept nicking the walls. I've given my crew a lot of work to do. Sorry, guys. But I just had to keep pushing and put it in the show, which we did. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow and a little bit less stress.
As soon as you found out you made the show, Ross Chastain came down to give you hugs. A lot of folks in the pits now, a lot of media. Your dad, Derek, is here, gave you a large hug. What does it mean to make the field? You've made the Indianapolis 500s, but now you've qualified for Chicago Street Course.
Yeah, BJ actually said to me, this can't be any more stressful than qualifying for Indy.
No.
And I was thinking, actually, it is, because there's a level of comfort with Indy that I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. And here it's very much drinking from a fire hose, just trying to find my feet and get better. And the only way you can get better is with laps, and we don't have any practice, so you have to get better in the race. So I have to put it in the show, so it's like this vicious circle. But I really, really appreciate everybody's support, and it means the world to me. And I can't thank everybody enough. You know, Chevrolet have been amazing. RCR have helped me and given me sim time, and it's been a hell of a year.
So happy for you. Her dad, Derek, was just saying, Adam, that he flies back and forth from Europe every time she races here in the States. Dad's not going home tonight, Katherine. He's staying for the big show tomorrow. Thanks.
It's all about checking boxes. Part 1 is done. She's in the show. Let's look at the starting lineup for tomorrow.
All right, I'll read through this. I'll have to pause the broadcast. Can't show it to you on screen for whatever reason. It did not include both Group 1 and Group 2 qualifying together. For some reason, it had it separated on the raw feed. So, again, verbally, I'll have to read to you guys the starting lineup. And obviously, we'll go over it in the pre-race tomorrow as well. But on the pole, Shane Van Gisbergen, Michael McDowell will be on the front row, outside of which he was the fastest in Group 2 qualifying. Row number 2 will be Carson Hocevar, Tyler Reddick. Row 3, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Busch. Great qualifying effort for Busch. Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher. Row 4, Ty Gibbs, Austin Dillon round out the top 10. They will be in row number 5. And outside the top 10 now as we go to row number 6. Alex Bowman with Joey Logano will be 11th and 12th on the starting grid. Row 7, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson. Row 8 for Brad Keselowski, AJ Allmendinger. Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, row 9. Will Brown and Todd Gilliland will be in row number 10. Back half of the field in row number 11 is going to be Riley Herbst and Ross Chastain. Cole Custer, Noah Gragson in row 12. Row 13 for John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith. Austin Cindric, Justin Haley, row 14. And Josh Berry, Austin Hill in row 15. And row 16 is going to be Josh Bilicki and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Katherine Legge, who, as you just heard from moments ago, final transfer spot of the open drivers will be on the inside of row 17. Eric Jones on the outside. Cody Ware, Ty Dillon, row 18. Bubba Wallace with 2 spins on his qualifying laps leads him back in 19th. William Byron did not participate in qualifying because of a crash in practice. Same for Chase Elliott, who will be inside of row 20. And Denny Hamlin, who didn't participate in qualifying because of an engine failure in practice, he will be on the outside of row 20, bringing up the rear of the field. So that is your starting lineup for tomorrow's Grant Park 165 in downtown Chicago, Illinois. I will see you guys for that one, and I will see you for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race in a little bit as well. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we will go live for our Xfinity Series race coverage, so a little over an hour from now. And we get to see some racing on Chicago in the dry for the Xfinity Series side. Shane Van Gisbergen will be on the pole for that one. And again, more coverage in about an hour from now. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet on the stream. We did get to our like goal of 50 plus. We're at 68 currently. Subscribe for more NASCAR content like this every NASCAR race weekend. Still got 2 more live commentary streams to go over the next 24 hours. See you guys soon. Thanks for watching again.